Chapter 1194. Li Longji had a sullen expression when he spoke, but then he blinked his eyes and smiled at Wu Huifei and Empress Wang, who were also looking at him. It's good to get used to it. Last time, I finally found a way to scheme against Xiao Bao. This method can still be used often. Let's not talk about the distance. As long as the price of goods in the capital fluctuates slightly, I will immediately order people to release the news. He definitely won't dare to stand out and deny it. Haha, thinking about it makes me happy. Wu Huifei and Empress Wang were helpless. The emperor seemed to become a different person when he met Xiao Bao. Even if he took advantage of him a little, he would still be happy. Your Majesty, where can we go to play this summer and autumn? Wu Huifei suddenly asked Li Longji. Li Longji muttered to himself for a moment and shook his head. I don't think we can go out this year. Haven't you noticed that the soldiers in various places are frequently mobilized? Other than the spring plowing that is still going on, the other industries are showing signs of stopping. I need to stay in the capital. Speaking of which, this concubine also doesn't understand. It's just fighting and eating. The imperial court has been training soldiers in the northwest for a long time. In addition, they have a large number of soldiers there. They can just force their way in. Why do they need to mobilize the soldiers of other provinces? The soldiers of the Jiangnan circuit are being mobilized, and they still need soldiers from other places to replenish them. Could it be that they want to fight Japan and Xinluo? Wu Huifei knew very little about military matters. When she recalled the past, she had never encountered a situation where the government troops of the interior followed them around when they were fighting a faraway land. If not for the fact that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo two people did not take any action despite the fact that there were so many opportunities to assassinate them, she would have thought that they were going to rebel. Li Longji closed his eyes and didn't speak. It seemed that he didn't want to explain the national affairs clearly to the people in the palace. Wu Huifei could only look at Empress Wang. She had a chance to get rid of her and seize the position of the head of the harem. She was also protected by Xiao Bao and Cuckoo at that time. She was looking forward to getting some information from her. After all, she was born a family of generals and had helped the emperor rebel. The current Empress Wang looked much weaker than before. Her skin was white and smooth, and her face was dignified. She gave people the impression that she was a normal woman guarding the harem. In fact, she was more and more fond of military affairs. This was because, according to Wang Wan, a woman who had nothing else to do would always be neglected by a busy man. A happy woman had to make her voice heard from time to time, especially around a man's career. Even if she said something wrong occasionally, it was fine. If you were by the emperor's side, you would need to know the military and know the politics. Otherwise, when the emperor made a wise decision and you were at a loss when he told you, wouldn't you be depriving the emperor of the opportunity to show off? Therefore, you must understand. Occasionally, you will make a mistake or ask a few silly questions. The emperor will explain it to you, and you will naturally be in a good mood. Empress Wang deeply agreed with this theory. Therefore, whenever there was a resolution in the imperial court, she would send a letter to Wang Wan for consultation, to obtain a solution, understand the method, and then use it on His Majesty when they were chatting in the palace. Seeing Wu Huifei look over, Empress Wang showed a warm smile. She put down the book in her hand and said to her, "You think the palace is boring. In the middle of summer, the large amusement park in the suburbs of the capital will open. Why don't you go with me? Most of them are children. I won't go." Wu Huifei refused. If she went there, she would be surrounded by guards. Everyone knew her identity, so who would she play with? Looking at you is like looking at animals in a zoo. Then let's go to Sanshui County. It's safe there, and we don't have to worry about being surrounded. Empress Wang had just thought of this when she made a new suggestion. But His Majesty in the palace. Wu Huifei was moved, but she had other concerns. Empress Wang waved her hand indifferently and said, "It's fine. His Majesty has been busy recently, so he goes to sleep at night. Besides, there are other people looking after him." Empress Wang had learned this from Cuckoo. She said that you can't always be around a man. After a long time, the man will forget you. Find an opportunity to look at him for a while, then the man will find that a habit around him has been broken. Then he will remember you. But you have to control the situation well. Don't let the man worry. Otherwise, he will easily run to other people to vent his thoughts. However, she still didn't understand why Cuckoo didn't want to be apart from Xiaobao for a while. When Li Longji heard this, he stopped writing, raised his head, and said, "Go, go. Only when you get there will there be people who will sincerely communicate with you. The local roast duck has always been different from the ones outside. I will be very busy recently." Last night, the Ministry of Works sent news that the film that could be used to make this thing called movie has been successfully made. It is now being tested and played in sync with the sound. For the sake of the people of my dynasty, I can only work hard. I can't say how helpless I am. Empress Wang and Wu Huifei looked at the emperor's face that didn't show any helplessness. Instead, there was a faint excitement on his face. They hesitated again. They also wanted to work hard for the sake of the people of Tang. "Why don't we film it together?" Empress Wang suggested. "I'll test the water first. I'll put in a few places in Tang and see the effect first." Li Longji planned to release his image first. Wu Huifei was helpless. She thought for a while and said, "I think the glass film that was used for Xiaobei and the others is very good. It has color. I heard Xiaobao and Cuckoo say that the new thing called film has no color." Empress Wang said, "Cuckoo said that if you are willing, you can invest more. She and Xiaobao will put in a lot of effort. Basically, it can be done in one step. However, it's not good for the researchers of the Ministry of Works. They can only walk and run when they have a firm footing." Cuckoo said that she and Xiaobao know a lot of things. However, when it's used on the technicians, it can only guarantee that they won't take the wrong path. It won't let them fly directly. "Sister, you've been fooled by them. They are flying." "Sister, you don't know. A few days ago, when I asked Meow Meow to go to the Ministry of Works to ask for things to wash clothes, guess what she saw?" Wu Huifei asked with her eyes wide open. "What?" Empress Wang's eyes also widened. "Why did you go to the Ministry of Works to ask for things to wash clothes? Minister Zhang has good things there. My red clothes were stained with something green. It can't be washed off. It's my favorite one. Their family specially sent a few pieces to the palace. It's a pity to throw them away. I thought that the Ministry of Works should have a solution." Meow Meow went to Minister Zhang. Minister Zhang was busy with other things and gave Meow Meow a pass. Meow Meow entered the circle outside the Ministry of Works herself. "Did you wash off the things you brought?" Empress Wang asked expectantly. "I washed them off. The green ones were washed off, and the red ones were washed off as well. I can't wear them anymore. I plan to get someone to change my clothes." "Elder sister, this person is really strange. In the past, I didn't have much spare money. I always wanted to wear new clothes, as if wearing old ones was beneath my status. Now that I can't use up all my money, I don't care. It's fine as long as the clothes fit me. When I eat, I don't need to eat too many dishes. It's fine as long as they are delicious." Wu Huifei frowned when she talked about washing off the color of the clothes. However, when she talked about her own changes, she was enraptured. Empress Wang agreed. "Yes, yes. According to Cuckoo, if you have money, you have confidence. If you have confidence, you can do whatever you want. Look at Xiaobei's pants. Because he always runs around, he has a cut on his knee. He had someone sew a pocket on it. Now, many children wear pants with pockets sewn on their knees. Also, Xiaobao's father, Zhang Shangshu, is always busy. Every day, he has to go to the Ministry of Works research area to change his original green clothes. His elbows are whitened. Thus, many people in Beijing wear green clothes. They don't look good at all. They even deliberately use things to whiten their elbows." "Yes," Li Longji also interrupted. "That's because no one thinks that the Zhang family and the Wang family can't afford to wear clothes. When Xiaobei and the others eat outside, they pack up the leftovers and take them back. Who dares to look down on them? The poorer they are, the more generous they are. The more inferior they are, the more flamboyant they are." After lamenting, Li Longji thought of something important. He asked, "In the future, you're not allowed to send people into the Ministry of Works research area, even the periphery. I'll talk to Zhang Zhong later. What did Meow Meow see over there?" "Yes, yes. Let's not talk about washing clothes first." Empress Wang also reacted. At the mention of this, Wu Huifei looked unhappy. It was as if someone owed her money and didn't want to return it. She frowned and said, Meow Meow saw something even more interesting than the telegram. Meow Meow said that when she greeted the people at the periphery and told them the reason, that person directly picked up something on the table and shouted, I'm the chief dispatcher of the Light Industry Materials Logistics Department. I want them to send a bottle of strong cleaning agent. Then, Meow Meow heard a voice saying understood. Not long after, a bottle of something was sent over. What is that thing? Empress Wang asked in shock. I don't know, but I definitely dare to say that thing must be talking to someone else. We're using a telegram now, so how can it talk? There's only a ticking sound. Sister, do you think it flew or not? The telegram is already amazing enough, but there's actually something that can talk. Wu Huifei looked very depressed. Li Longji was also depressed. He lowered his head and thought about something. As he thought, he angrily threw his pen on the rack and shouted outside, Find that guy Zhang for me. The sound of running footsteps could be heard outside. Wu Huifei and Empress Wang weren't in the mood to read. They sat up straight and waited with Li Longji. If they didn't understand this matter, they wouldn't be able to sleep well at night. After waiting for a full 15 minutes, Zhang's small figure appeared at the bottom of the stairs outside the hall. As he got closer, his figure gradually grew bigger. The three people in the hall looked out at the same time and were stunned. They saw that Zhang, who was wearing tight work clothes today, had an extra big thing on his body. To be precise, there were two. One was in his hand, and the other was in front of his chest with a strap. There was also a microphone and a loudspeaker. As he walked, his mouth moved. When they reached the top of the stairs and stood in front of the door, Zhang looked at the three people apologetically and signaled for them to wait. I'll say it again. Don't fill up the small river behind. Don't. Put a big water tank next to it. Get the diesel generator and water pumping equipment ready. The warehouse in that place is very important. If it's burned, I'll cut off your heads. Over. After Zhang finished speaking, he pressed something on the box in front of his chest. 3 seconds later, a voice came from the loudspeaker hanging on his chest. We understand. We promise that we won't let the materials suffer any damage. We'll do as you say. Over. Zhang pressed something on the box in his hand again, and then on the box in front of his chest. After a while, he said into the loudspeaker, the materials are important, but the people are more important. If there's any danger, the people will run first. You can leave the materials behind. If you dare to save the materials and get into danger, I'll deal with your families. Don't think that I'm just scaring you. All right, His Majesty is waiting for me. Over. After pressing something on the box in front of his chest again, Zhang let out a long breath. He then said to Li Longji, who was waiting in the hall, His Majesty, why did you summon me here? Chapter 1195. At this moment, Li Longji's eyes were fixed on the boxes in Zhang's hands and hanging in front of his chest. He didn't say a word. Your Majesty, Your Majesty? Your Majesty, are you feeling unwell? Zhang asked with concern. Li Longji exhaled deeply, shook his head, and waved at Zhang. Come forward. When Zhang was about 10 steps away from Li Longji looked at the two boxes again and asked, What were you doing just now? Zhang first placed the boxes in his hands on the ground, then placed the boxes hanging around his neck on the ground. He shook his arms and said helplessly, Isn't this a new project set up by the Research Institute? This place has just been built, and all kinds of materials have been piled together. I was afraid that they would accidentally damage them, so I had to remind them. These things are very important, and the production is very low. It is difficult to produce 1 out of every 100 pieces. You really can't stop worrying. I can't be too harsh with my words. If something really happens, and they put themselves in danger to protect the item, Xiaobao and Huan will be worried to death. I'm asking what you said just now. Li Longji stopped talking about himself and asked anxiously, just like that. Your Majesty, look. One is a radio transmitter, and the other is a semiconductor receiver. Zhang pointed at the two boxes. In other words, you can directly communicate with the Ministry of Works Research Base from Hanyuan Palace Hall? Li Longji asked again. Zhang nodded. Yes, it's very convenient. If you have any instructions, you can directly send it over. It's similar to a telegram, but a telegram can't be spoken. With this subject has been much less worried recently. Your Majesty, you don't know. Your Majesty, Your Majesty? What's wrong with you? Li Longji's face was ashen. Wu Huifei and Empress Wang were also fuming. For a moment, Zhang Zhong didn't know what to do. He wondered what he had done wrong to make his Majesty angry. But what did this have to do with the Empress and Wu Huifei? Who were they angry at? Your Majesty, let's talk business. Wu Huifei was the first to calm down. Li Longji nodded and rubbed his face. His complexion was much better now. He said to Zhang Zhong, "Find a place to sit." Zhang Zhong did not stand on ceremony. Seeing that the nearest stool was more than 10 steps away, he decided to sit on the floor. He was wearing his work uniform anyway. Composing himself, Li Longji looked at Zhang Zhong and said, "Yongcheng, the Ministry of Works has been busy recently, and you have to worry about a lot of things. Thank you for your hard work. Your Majesty, this is what I have to do. It is not hard work. Although I am tired, I am willing to do it. Our dynasty's industry has just been established. Our foundation is thin, we spend a lot of money, but the results are few. This subject is often worried that I will drag down the great Tang's industrial construction, so I once asked my son for advice. Xiao Bao consoled me and said, 'This is urgent. Wait patiently, and you will know in the future.'" After Zhang Zhong finished speaking, he thought for a moment and then pressed a button on the box that he had been carrying earlier. Only when he heard the rustling sound from inside did he feel relieved. Li Longji and the other two followed Zhang Zhong's movements. Seeing that Zhang Zhong did not do anything else, they retracted their gazes. "Yongcheng, we have been thinking about Xiao Bei and the others for the past few days. Without them, we feel that there's a lot less fun around us." Li Longji mentioned Xiao Bei again. Zhang Zhong nodded. This subject's heart is also empty. Fortunately, there is Ji Xiang and Rui, who are noisy all day long. Together with your Majesty's Pan'er siblings, my heart is at peace. Why don't we place them by your Majesty's side? Leave them with you. Leave them with you. Li Longji waved his hand as if they were not people, but objects. Seeing that the emperor had a sad expression, he said, "We can go over and take a look. There's a lot of construction going on in the palace, and there is no place to put them." "That's fine too." Zhang Zhong followed along. "Yongcheng, when we talk about Xiao Bei and the others, can you guess what we remember? We remember when they were still young. At that time, we remember that they had a house. Am I right?" Li Longji seemed to be reminiscing. Zhang Zhong also revealed an expression of reminiscence and said with a smile, "That's right. At that time, they were still young. They had a big house. It was only a single story, so it couldn't compare to an ordinary house. However, in terms of overall appearance, it was much better than an ordinary house. The entire house was made of agarwood." "Oh, right, we remember now. Is the house well maintained?" Li Longji continued Zhang Zhong's words. "Good, it's very good," Zhang Zhong replied. "How could not be good? The house was made of agarwood. If the entire house was sold, it would be equivalent to a third of the Great Tang's national treasury 20 years ago. None of the pearls and other accessories inside were cheap. At the very least, there was so much transparent glass 20 years ago. Good. It's good that the house is still there. Back then, we weren't the only ones who thought that it was good. Longzhe also thought that the little one's house wasn't bad. That house isn't ordinary. Other than the fact that it can't fly, it should be able to adapt to other terrains, right?" Li Longji continued to speak casually. Zhang Zhong was taken aback. He suddenly remembered who Longzhe was. Bigu, that old man, was always eyeing his house. Not only did he eat and stay for free, he even made his son and daughter-in-law chat with him. "Is that so?" Li Longji asked. It's still all right. Actually, it can fly even if it wants to now. We just need to release more hot air balloons." Zhang Zhong's reply was very honest. Li Longji sighed heavily. "That's right. The little ones in your house are the luckiest. Ever since I was young, I've never had such a house. There are those who use agarwood to make tables, stools, paperweights, and all kinds of small ornaments. I've never heard of anyone using agarwood to make a house. This was especially so when I heard Longzhe say that if one wanted to know the extent of Great Tang's technology, One only had to look at the houses of the children of Zhang Zhong and Wang. I know that as well, but I can't criticize the children. Thus, I can only bear with the fact that you didn't let me use the good technology. However, if you don't let me use the technology that you have already used, how can I feel good about it? Don't you think so? Li Longji's final words were directed at Wu Huifei and Empress Wang. Empress Wang was too embarrassed to speak, so she only replied with an un. Wu Huifei didn't care too much and sighed as well. Speaking of which, this concubine's heart aches the most for the eunuchs and palace maids in the palace. The new eunuchs are all congenital castrated, unlike in the past where the parents had to abandon their children. Now, the eunuchs in the family aren't thrown away but sent to the palace instead. As for the palace maids, they're the ladies of normal families, so who wouldn't feel bad for them? However, they have to run far away just because of a decree from His Majesty or to summon a certain official. More importantly, if there's an emergency, wouldn't it be too late for them to run over and wait for the official to arrive? If a certain palace maid suddenly fell ill and couldn't breathe properly, she would need an imperial physician. If there's a delay, she might lose her life. Am I right? After Wu Huifei finished speaking, the three of them all looked at Zhang Zhong. Zhang Zhong nodded vigorously and understood. When his son and daughter-in-law arrived in Feng Province and saw the technicians, they remembered how difficult it was for them to communicate with the Ministry of Works. They had temporarily used various tools on the ship to make a telephone and a radio transmitter and receiver. The Ministry of Works hadn't thoroughly researched them yet, so they were discovered by His Majesty first. Moving the two boxes forward, Zhang Zhong pointed at the one that had been hung in front of him and said, "This is a receiver that mainly uses semiconductors." He then pointed at the other one and said, "This is a radio transmitter. The principle is to first fix the frequency and then send out the radio. Someone in the Ministry of Works research base uses semiconductors to receive it. To prevent signal interference, I turn off the radio and turn on the semiconductor receiver. The Ministry of Works research base sends out the radio and I receive it. As for the specific principle, to be honest, I don't know. It was made in Feng Province by my son and Cuckoo. There are only 2 sets. In addition, there is also a type of telephone. It is wired. Wherever it goes, the sound will go. The prerequisite is that there is electricity. When I go back, I will first pull the phone line over. Your Majesty, you don't need the wireless radio because there are too few channels. If too many people use it, it will easily leak secrets." After the introduction, Zhang Zhong let out a sigh of relief. He thought it was something big, but it turned out that it was just a communication tool. He didn't find it troublesome to go around in a big circle. Treasure. Li Longji got up and walked in front of the box. He reached out and touched the buttons, but he didn't dare to touch them. He was afraid that he would accidentally break them. It must be very difficult for the people in the Ministry of Works research base to make such a miraculous object, right? Li Longji imagined himself as a researcher. For a moment, he didn't know where to start. He didn't even dare to think about it. "It was made by my son and Cuckoo," Zhang Zhong reminded him. "My son? Yes, he is very bad. Since he could do it, why did he make it for you and not me? If Li Shi knew, he would be very sad. Has the Ministry of Works made it as well?" Li Longji pulled someone who wasn't present to blame Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Zhong shook his head regretfully. The technicians can only piece the parts together, but they don't understand the principles behind it. When Xiaobao and Cuckoo sent it over a few days ago, the technicians realized that the triode could be used for communication. They still have a lot to learn. As he spoke, Zhang Zhong began to worry. The people in the Ministry of Works were very hard-working, but no matter how hard they learned, they couldn't keep up with Xiaobao and Cuckoo's demands. From time to time, the two of them would send over some information and research ideas to guide and inspire the technicians. Li Longji reluctantly retracted his hand. Since Xiaobao and Cuckoo can make it, why didn't they do it earlier? They waited until you needed it before they were willing to do it. What benefit does it bring to Great Tang? Your Majesty, the two of them are also slowly researching it. Cuckoo is the one who put in the most effort. Furthermore, their research needs the support of other people's research. If they can't forge good steel, they can't propose to build diesel engines. If they can't solve the problem of spark plugs, how can gasoline engines be ignited? They took out a bunch of ideas and requirements for the researchers to study and create things. They then proposed new ideas and requirements based on the new things that appeared. Xiao Bao said that the current wireless communication can be simpler, but he and Cuckoo can't do it. They have to wait for the Ministry of Works to understand the technology. Then, they will issue a guideline and let the researchers do it. The industry isn't something that can be solved by one or two people. After saying this, Zhang Zhong felt thirsty. He looked up and saw a cup of herbal tea on the table. He walked over and drank it in one gulp. He wiped his mouth and said, "It's actually tea guanyin. If I had known, I wouldn't have drunk it. It's easy to get a stomachache." Li Longji lowered his head and pondered, ignoring Zhang Zhong, who drank his tea. Empress Wang, on the other hand, signaled to the palace maid standing at the door and asked her to bring Longjing tea. When a new tea was brought, Li Longji took a cup and said, "It's really hard on Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. If it weren't for other people, they would have taken flight long ago. Why do they have to stop and wait for every step they take?" Just like the futuristic military stories Cuckoo wrote, there's a country thousands of miles away that provokes me. I just need to sit in the hall, and there's something like a movie in front of me, and I can see that country. Then I reach out and point. Half an hour later, that country is in a sea of fire. No one is left alive, not even a blade of grass. Yes, yes, Empress Wang also said excitedly. He also said that someone from another country stabbed our Chao Zimin in the Tang Empire. Our Chao Zimin took out something from his pocket and instantly contacted His Majesty, saying that he had been stabbed. While His Majesty sent people to treat him, he tapped on the screen in front of him and found that the person had just rowed a boat and escaped into the sea. His Majesty tapped on the screen, and a pillar of light shone down from the 9 heavens. Both the person and the boat disappeared. This is a true attacker, able to move above the 9 heavens. Unfortunately, this is all a dream. The thing that person took out could be contacted instantly, unless... At this point, Empress Wang was stunned. Li Longji and Wu Huifei were also stunned. Their eyes were fixed on the 2 boxes on the ground, and then they turned to look at Zhang Zhong, who was about to drink his tea. Zhang Zhong also stopped what he was doing and swallowed hard. Could it be? Could it be? Chapter 1196. Zhang Zhong didn't say what it was. Li Longji and the other 2 felt chills run down their spines. This was especially true for Li Longji, whose heart had turned cold. He had always been told that there was a country that was very powerful. In the beginning, he had his doubts, but as the hot air balloons, telegraph machines, cannons, steam engines, diesel engines, and gasoline engines were produced, he began to believe it. But today, when he joked about the story that 2 people had once told him, he saw the wireless communication box in front of him, and a special sense of urgency began to grow in his heart. He couldn't help but look up at the sky and murmur, "Orders come from thousands of li away. Attacks come from above the 9 heavens." This is not a story. Definitely not. I'll have someone get the phone line immediately. In the future, working in the palace will be much more convenient. Zhang Zhong put down his teacup and crouched down to turn on the radio. Li Longji grabbed Zhang Zhong's hand and said earnestly, "Yongsheng, while you're at it, tell the technicians in the Ministry of Works to work harder. Tell them to follow in the footsteps of Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. We'll give them promotions. We don't want to be beaten without being able to retaliate one day. At the very least, we should be able to defend ourselves." Zhang Zhong said awkwardly, "Your Majesty, do you think that's possible?" In his heart, his son and daughter-in-law were little immortals bestowed upon him by the heavens. Who could follow in the footsteps of immortals? If they can follow in the footsteps, then it's better than nothing. Are those 2 people in your family willing to? Willing to raise a few more children like Xiao Bao and Cuckoo? Li Longji asked expectantly. Xiao Bei, Xiao Yuan, and the others can't? Zhang Zhong knew what the emperor was talking about. The excuse that his family used to deceive outsiders was something that the outsiders came up with themselves. Li Longji had a bitter taste in his mouth, and the wrinkles on his face piled up. He said, The little guys are powerful, but compared to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, they're not even close. When Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were at Xiao Bei's age, they were, right? Then, Your Majesty, how many children like Xiao Bao and Cuckoo do you think our great Tang can choose from? Zhang Zhong asked in embarrassment. One. I can't even choose one. Zhang Zhong, why didn't your families have 8 children each? You count the days, count them carefully. The time they were born and the time I ascended the throne, were they bestowed by the heavens? Even if you gave birth to 2 children at once, it would still be better than now. You only gave birth to one, just one. It's all because your families reduced the number of treasures that the heavens bestowed upon me. Do you admit your sins? Li Longji grabbed Zhang Zhong's hand and roared. I admit my sins. This subject admits his sins. Your Majesty, please calm down. This subject will have someone set up a phone line and relay your decree. Zhang Zhong was frightened and hurriedly comforted him. Now is not the time to argue about who was bestowed the treasure. After venting his anger, Li Longji calmed down and let go of Zhang Zhong's hand. He nodded. The 3 of them watched as Zhang Zhong contacted the Research Institute and relayed the order. They were still in a daze. Your Majesty, this subject still has some documents to write. If there's nothing else, this subject will take his leave. Zhang Zhong pointed at the door. Go. Thank you, Minister Zhang. Li Longji waved his hand and watched as Zhang Zhong rehung the box and sent it out of the hall. Only when Zhang Zhong's figure disappeared from the range of Hanyuan Palace Hall did he turn around and walk to the back of the table. He collapsed into a chair. Wu Huifei and Empress Wang were speechless. Worry could be seen on their faces. The hall was silent for half an hour before Li Longji's voice sounded. What time is it? Empress Wang raised her wrist and looked at the mechanical watch on it. She replied, It's 1:15 noon. No wonder you're hungry. Let's go to Savant's restaurant. This emperor wants to eat the Mandarin duck pot. Li Longji didn't want to eat in the palace. He rubbed his stomach and got up to leave. Wu Huifei followed up and asked, What side dishes does your Majesty need? This concubine will order someone first. Just make 2 cold plates, not too much. It would be a pity to throw them away if we can't finish them. I wonder what Xiao Bao and the others ate for lunch. Longza and Yuanji should have arrived by now. Li Longji suddenly thought of what others ate. Wu Huifei nodded. If they really arrived, they would definitely eat fish at noon. They caught it themselves. Your Majesty, they have already retired, but they still have to organize people to gather intelligence. If this goes on for a long time, I'm afraid it will shake their foundation. Empress Wang cooperated and said, Exactly. If we don't restrict them, they will bring disaster to the world. It doesn't matter. They are now collecting economic information. This emperor can still use them. Bring disaster to the world? Could it be that they dare to rebel? If someone really wants to use their intelligence to do something bad, I don't even need to say anything. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo will directly put them on Zhuke Street. If they want to rebel, they can't do it alone, right? If they need an army, logistics, and incite the people, do you think that with the reputation of Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, which people will follow them? The matter of the 2 Taoists in Jiangnan has just passed. Even if there are people who don't care about their good, they have to consider their ruthlessness. Li Longji didn't care. Compared to an attack from thousands of miles away, a mere economic intelligence organization was nothing. With only 100 or so Jinwu guards, Li Longji, Wu Huifei, and Empress Wang slowly strolled to Savant's restaurant. Along the way, they kept waving at the people. Then, they felt that it was a waste to bring more than 100 guards because the people consciously stood 50 steps away from them. At the same time, they looked at the people around them vigilantly. They didn't walk forward, but they also stopped others from coming forward to avoid hurting the emperor. The only people Li Longji came in contact with were 2 children who squeezed in. He hugged them and kissed them, and they were considered close to the people. With so many people, if anyone wants to rebel, I will tire them to death. Sitting at the table, Li Longji said proudly. Empress Wang and Wu Huifei nodded in agreement. It was indeed not easy to rebel. At this time, the hot pot was also served. The exhaust fan was turned on, and the charcoal was burned. The chicken soup and the seafood base looked clear, but the smell of the soup filled the air. On the other side was bright red chili, and the fragrance was rich. 8 large basins filled with cold dishes were placed at the side, and 8 large plates were placed on the table. Li Longji was about to say that it was a waste, but he suddenly understood that they asked you to use a plate to fill the big basins. Look, in the world, only their restaurant dares to ask me to do it myself. Li Longji picked up a plate and began to choose the cold dishes. It's only comfortable to eat in their restaurant. Empress Wang also picked up a plate. If only Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were here. There are hundreds of seasonings, and it's really difficult to choose. If Xiao Bao was here, he would help to adjust the seasonings according to the season and climate. It's lively with a group of little guys, but what about Panner and the others? Wu Huifei couldn't sit and wait for the emperor to work, so she stood up and picked wine from the wine cabinet. She said a few words and asked Empress Wang's children. The waiter standing at the door immediately replied, "They have eaten and are sleeping. Have your masters eaten the mandarin duck pot recently?" "The masters have eaten it, but the madams haven't. They need to nurse the children." "What sauce are you using?" After the waiter left, the head butler of the Zhang family came in with a tray with a large bowl of sauce and 3 small cans. He put them on the table and said, "The little master deliberately made this sauce before he left and froze it. He said that if you eat the mandarin duck pot or hot pot at this time of the year, this sauce will definitely not be heaty. If you feel that the sauce is not fresh enough, don't add oyster sauce. It's too salty. There are canned caviar." Li Longji chuckled. "You actually dare to hide it." "Fortunately, my beloved concubine asked. If the strong men were here, I don't believe that they wouldn't take the initiative to take it out. You can leave. I won't reward you even if you stand here for a day. Your Majesty, Empress, and Your Highness, please enjoy." The butler bowed and left. It's not easy to eat hot food outside. Li Longji and Empress Wang put the cold dishes on the table and sighed. The reason why the head butler of the Zhang family came just now was because of the sauce. Previously, everything in the house had been checked. There were also people watching the kitchen in case something went wrong. Empress Wang took the wine from Wu Huifei and poured it for Li Longji first. She said, "Why don't we call the strong man here? He's busy with the construction of the palace. It's very tiring for him." "Forget it. If he comes, he'll have to serve us. He has others to serve him in the palace. Let him rest. Today, it's just our family eating." As soon as Li Longji finished speaking, he raised his head and drank half a cup of wine. The 3 of them ate a few mouthfuls of food. With food in their stomachs, they began to chat. "I still feel that it's messy to transfer troops from all over the country. I can't guess what they want to do." Wu Huifei still didn't forget about the previous matter. Li Longji didn't have any intention of answering. He peeled the boiled edamame that shouldn't be there in this season and swept his eyes across the various dishes to choose. Empress Wang only cared about etiquette in front of others. Now that there were no outsiders, she chewed the mutton in her mouth and said in a muffled voice, "Sister, don't worry. That definitely won't go to Xinluo or Japan. Xinluo doesn't have any fighting power, and Japan is even more useless. I think they want the Tang Empire to train their troops, especially the Navy. They might be of use in the future. For example, they can patrol along the shore and help protect the merchants of our dynasty. As long as they are within the range of the cannons, they will be safe. When the time comes, hundreds of gunships will be deployed and rush out, together with the troop carriers." Empress Wang paused. Li Longji also stopped peeling the edamame. Wu Huifei looked around and hurriedly drank a mouthful of wine. She said loudly to Empress Wang, "Sister, why don't we go to the Research Institute of the Ministry of Works later? I remember that Xiao Bao said that other than movies, there are also cameras, the kind that take pictures of people. It's as if it's real." Yes, we have to go. We have to go. Where's His Majesty?" Empress Wang also said loudly, "Let's go together. Throw 2 prawns in. They're not fresh prawns." Li Longji also drank a mouthful of wine. Empress Wang helped to put the prawns in the pot and said, "They are prawns from last year. They are specially frozen. There are seeds and drunken crabs in them. They are slightly yellow." "Good. It's good that there are seeds. It seems that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo can grow vegetables that are out of season, but they can't grow prawns and crabs that are out of season. Li Longji waited for the prawns to slowly turn red. In my opinion, they find it troublesome and don't have the time to care. They can already grow fungus and ginseng. They are quite capable, Wu Huifei said as she put down her chopsticks. Li Longji picked up a cooked prawn. As he peeled the shell, he lowered his voice and said, "Of course they are capable. They even dared to hide it from me. I was wondering why they were so carefree. It was as if they were traveling. Instead of actively preparing for war, they went to visit relatives. If Duoshi can defend, I dare to give them the technology of the cannon." Chapter 1197. Eat fish, eat fish. Lunch was later than usual. The old men who had been eating more than usual were hungry. As soon as they sat down, Baigo couldn't wait to pick up his chopsticks and eat the meat in the pot. Zhang Xiaobao's main dish was also hot pot, fish head pot, but there was a lot of fish in it. The two old men ate the meat. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan each scooped a bowl of fish soup and ate with steamed buns. They didn't seem to have much of an appetite. If it weren't for their normal expressions, people would think that they had something on their minds. After a few mouthfuls of meat, Baigo felt better. He smiled at Zhang Xiaobao and praised, "It's delicious. When it comes to fish, Xiaobao's cooking is more authentic. Let's continue to eat fish tonight. Let's eat fried fish, salted fish, and some cornmeal pancakes." "Okay, I'll make salted fish, cornmeal pancakes, and wild vegetable egg soup tonight." Zhang Xiaobao nodded. Since the old men were here, he had to serve them well. Even if she was stopped by an old man she didn't know on the street and asked her to cook something for him, she would still cook for him, let alone someone she had known for many years. Yao Chong didn't say anything, but his chopsticks kept moving. He tasted every dish and chose the one that he liked the most. As Baigo ate, he finally realized that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were different from before. The two of them kept exchanging glances while eating. Although he didn't know what they were talking about, it must be something difficult. After eating a few more mouthfuls, Baigo stopped and looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Yao Chong. When the two of them looked back, he said, "Xiaobao, it's normal for the two of you to be busy, but there's no end to it. We need to rest. Rest. When it's time to eat, eat. If there's any trouble, tell us and we can solve it together. The whole country is behind you." "Grandpa Bai, you're right. We have a small problem. We can't solve it in a year because we've taken too much manpower and resources. As time goes by, other countries may have other ideas. We're considering whether to put pressure on them or appease them with resources. Against Duoshi, we want to fight, grind, attack the heart, and seize it." For years, Zhang Xiaobao did not keep it a secret from the two old men and told them the steps of the strategy. Yao Chong also put down his chopsticks and looked at Baigo, waiting for the two to explain how they were going to play these 4 years. Wang Wan explained, "Fighting is to be ruthless at the start of the war, before the food harvest. At that time, they are most lacking in food and have no choice but to provide support to the front line. We'll fight until next summer and then retreat to the places we can occupy this winter to shorten the supply line." The two old men nodded at first, but then they both fretted. "Cuckoo, you don't want to advance quickly. Instead, you want to advance on all fronts. Fighting a battle of annihilation instead of attacking a rout or penetrating deep into the enemy's rear. It will consume a lot of resources. Why don't we use our weapon advantage to attack the enemy's core city and capture their leader?" Baigo believed that it would be best for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to launch the lightning battle mentioned in the textbooks, exchanging time for space. Now it seemed that the two wanted to slowly advance all fronts, giving the enemy time to gather their troops and play positional warfare. If someone else said this with a sharp weapon, he would have already cursed. Now that it was from Cuckoo, he needed to think carefully. Cuckoo had written many military textbooks, specializing in distinguishing all kinds of war situations. Strategic and tactical, everything. He believed that she would not make the wrong judgment and decision. Yao Chong's gaze fell on Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's faces. He reached out a hand and touched a steamed bun, bringing it to his mouth without blinking. They are a religious country. Their land area is large and their faith is firm. It's easy to destroy their upper power structure. We don't even need to send too many planes. Find a place with low mountains, take a detour, and send hot air balloon troops to fight special forces. Wang Wan explained, full of confidence. This was the confidence of having the ability to transport troops in the air. Especially for the first use, it was guaranteed to succeed. Zhang Xiaobao continued, but we can't. This is the characteristic of a religious country. It's not a problem for some people to die. Soon, there will be leaders in various places. At that time, their resistance will be very tenacious. In order to get more followers' support, they will make the decision to stop the Tang Empire's army. There's another possibility. They are all independent, and we could destroy them one by one. We don't dare to gamble, and there is no need to gamble. With the Tang Empire's army, which country can't we bully now? We mainly want to pay less and get higher returns. Wang Wan finished eating the steamed bun and signaled to Zhang Xiaobao, who had just drunk 2 mouthfuls of soup, to continue. Zhang Xiaobao quickly swallowed the soup. War is not the goal. The goal is to get something. My idea is the simplest. I have to make a lot of money in a war. It's not worth it without me. It's hard to get proportional to the cost. Destroy their will and make it easier for me to plunder. After saying this, Zhang Xiaobao also ate in big mouthfuls of food, giving the 2 old men time to think. The situation at the table changed. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan ate happily, but the 2 old men began to frown. They looked at each other and thought hard, analyzing Zhang Xiaobao's character. At the same time, they thought that Zhang Xiaobao's support for war was not for long-term benefits. Perhaps he had such a plan, but he would not give up short-term benefits. What he needed was to take advantage of the situation while fighting. After the war, he would first recover the cost of starting the war. When the dust settled, he was guaranteed to make a lot of money. Otherwise, with his talent, it would be better to use it to improve the lives of the people in the country. Good. Slowly push. I agree. Bai Su spoke first. Fighting for a year is pushing for a year. What is the purpose of grinding? Grinding is to take a big step back and carry out low-intensity, small group battles. Our army can take this opportunity to rotate and recuperate. At the same time, we can continue to train our soldiers. We can take small victories to big victories and eat away at tactics. The young generals can follow along and learn. The people will unite for the honor and dignity of the great Tang and work hard. Seeing that Wang Wan was still eating, Zhang Xiaobao could only say it himself. When he talked about the people working hard, he deliberately emphasized it. The 2 old men nodded in agreement. They understood this. As long as the front lines were not defeated, the people at the back would be very happy and work hard. The propaganda would be that the mighty army of the Great Tang was all thanks to your support in the rear, and there would be no more conflicts. They would even say that it didn't matter if the betrothal gifts were a little smaller. As long as the Great Tang army had a common goal, they could get married. Yao Chong finally spoke. 2 years is too long for the people of Duo who are always unable to drive the enemy out of their country and achieve victory. At that time, you can use other methods to shake the belief of the people in your religion and achieve the final victory in one fell swoop. Xiao Bao must be using economic methods, Bai Su said with certainty. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. Yes, I plan to use shrapnel and bullets to exchange for food. After a year of fighting, they will not have enough food. When we retreat, the shrapnel and bullets will be left at the front. I will use food to exchange with their people. If they can find good ores, I am even willing to use canned food to exchange. What a vicious plan. Bai Su shivered. He had already thought of the result. In order not to starve to death or eat canned food, the local people would definitely collect shrapnel and mine ores to exchange for food. But these things would be made into weapons that would take the lives of their soldiers. Would the ruling class stop them or condone them? Stopping them would intensify the internal conflict. Condoning them would chill the hearts of the frontline soldiers. At that time, the soldiers' food would come from the hands of the people. The people would use things to exchange. If the soldiers stopped, the people would not give the soldiers food. The soldiers would steal the food of the people. This was a dead end. Xiao Bao is also planning to pile up the enemy's corpses and start a plague battle. Then, he will use medicine to exchange for food. Wang Wang was already full and added. The two old men's teeth were numb and sour. It was obvious that they did not have enough blood. This plan goes against the heavens, Yao Chong said as he rubbed his face with his hands. Whose heavens? Our Tang Empire is at the right time, right place, and right people. Isn't it just a biological war? Zhang Xiaobao said indifferently. Then he muttered in a voice that only Wang Wan could hear, poison gas bombs, bacterial bombs, napalm bombs, depleted uranium bombs, dum-dum bombs, cluster bombs, non-metal mines, and atomic bombs. Who doesn't use them? Wang Wan did not say anything. She knew that Zhang Xiaobao was just casually saying that. Even if others did not use them, he would use them if he could. Don't expect to use morality, humanity, or righteousness to restrain him. He did not care. Of course, he did not care either. He would only follow the rules if others joined forces to beat him. Otherwise, he would beat whoever dared to oppose him. Seeing Zhang Xiaobao's firm attitude, the two old men did not try to persuade him. Yao Chong suggested, let them have fewer people die. It is also good for us to catch more slaves. I have this plan. It depends on the actual situation. If they can help us do a good job, why take more lives? I want to build more smelting workshops in the local area, refine steel, build railway tracks, and build a railway. We just need people to fill in. Zhang Xiaobao accepted this indirect persuasion. He was not killing for the sake of killing. That was crazy. Now we are worried about Japan and Xinhua. Wang Wan brought up the previous matter again. Xinhua has her garrison nearby, and Japan also has our gunships. What's there to worry about? Bai Shu pointed to the northeast. There were elite troops there. Otherwise, why did the ministers in the imperial court recognize the powerful existence of the Zhang family and the Wang family? It was because if Shuzhou and Sanshui County were easy to take down, Luzhou, Tubo, Northern Hebei Province, and Feng Province were all hoarded by the Zhang family and the Wang family. Zhang Xiaobao shrugged and spread his hands. No, the gunships and garrison are not there. The large transport ships are also gone. Where did they go? Bai Shu and Yao Chong exclaimed at the same time. They used them. What about Xinhua and Japan? Zhang Xiaobao gave a very rogue answer. It's easy. Don't appease or suppress them. Let His Majesty issue an edict and invite them to come to Tang for exchanges. From agriculture to industry, from military to economy, from literature and art to sports. We can first provide them with a detailed introduction and tell them what to exchange. Let their ruling class come over. We will provide food and accommodation. Bai Shu came up with an idea. Yao Chong agreed. Our country is big. Let them wander around. Do we have any advanced weapons? We can scare them while we are at it. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan thought about it together. After exchanging glances, Zhang Xiaobao said, yes, cover the outside of the diesel engine with metal sheets, and put the thing under the house that Xiao Bei and the others used when they first came here. We call it track. I'll ask the Ministry of Works to make a few more and send them to Duoshi to test the water. What exactly is that thing? What about the gunships and the soldiers of Hebei Province? Bai Shu still had a lot of doubts. Zhang Xiaobao still shrugged and spread his hands. Not to mention Hebei Province, the original soldiers of Hunan Province, Deng Province, and Lai Province are also gone. The naval forces of Huainan Province and Jiangnan Province are also gone. Only the naval forces of Jiangyi Province are left to guard the capital. Chapter 1198. A few days later, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were still leisurely spending their vacation in Idyll with a group of retired old men. They hunted in the mountains and fished in the water, living a very comfortable life. Xiao Bei and the 9 children had yet to return to Wenshan County, but the situation in the county had changed. Wang Chang's family was escorted to Idyll and handed over to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. After a short period of training, they were sent to Duoshi to study the eating habits of the locals. At the same time, they were to create new dishes in preparation for the next step of the soft invasion. Objectively speaking, Wang Chong was unwilling to go. Not only was it tiring, but it was also dangerous. Objectively speaking, he did not dare to not go. When he was the county magistrate, he did not do what a county magistrate should do. To put it lightly, he was not capable enough and was not suitable for the position of county magistrate. To put it bluntly, he was clearly derelict in his duties. He did not care about the lives and happiness of the county's people. He did not care about the laws and regulations that the imperial court valued. His actions even shook the country's rule over the area. With such a heavy accusation, Wang Chong thought about his mother, wife, and children and happily agreed to the job of researching food. Most importantly, his family could continue to live in Izhou City. The restaurants would deliver food to them. Winshan's Gongsun Weiyu smoothly took over the position of county magistrate. The imperial court's letter of appointment had already left the capital and would arrive in the county in a few days. With power in his hands, Gongsun Weiyu relied on Xiao Bei and the others to start cleaning up the disobedient people in the yamen and promoting his own people. Even the authority of the registrar was given out. The people who were being cleaned up did not dare to speak out. They did not even dare to be angry. Without any restraints, Gongsun Weiyu governed according to his own administrative philosophy. A series of decrees were passed out, and the county's people followed suit. Xiao Bei and the others did not stay idle. Although they said they were going for a stroll, they actually ran to the place where Gongsun Weiyu wanted to build the cement factory. They first built the cement kiln and then started to burn the cement. When Xiao Bei brought the finished cement sample to Gongsun Weiyu was stunned. He then said worriedly, "There is a technique to burn cement. You can't just look at the finished product. You also have to protect the person who burns the cement. If you directly build it, it will be easy for something to happen." What happened? Little Bei looked up and asked. The first is the quality of the finished product. The second is the safety, and the third is the transportation. These 3 points cannot be reduced. I am currently waiting for the imperial court to send someone over. Gongsun Weiyu sighed and said helplessly. Xiao Bei carefully looked at Gongsun Weiyu and asked, "Have you become muddle-headed from being a county magistrate? You're asking the imperial court for technology?" Gongsun Weiyu nodded. "That's right. Why do you care which part of the imperial court needs technology?" Xiao Bei asked again. "Ministry of Works," Gongsun Weiyu answered. "Who am I?" Xiao Bei asked. "Zhang Xiao Bei. I'm the daughter of the Minister of Works. The cement was made by my family in Luzhou. You asked the Ministry of Works for technical support, but you're questioning me. County Magistrate Gongsun, you should rest for 2 days. Don't overwork your brain." Compared to Gongsun Weiyu's helplessness earlier, Xiao Bei was even more helpless now. She pointed at the cement on the table and said, 3 days later, we'll gather a batch of cement and bring it out. We'll help the county promote it. You should consider the transportation problem. The stability of ships traveling by water is very important. If we're traveling by land, I've already experienced the joy of hiking mountains. If you want to build roads, we can support you with a batch of explosives. Gongsun Weiyu blushed and nodded repeatedly. The main reason was that the imperial court had been promoting the Ministry of Works vigorously in recent years. Many people had forgotten where the source of technology was. The truth was that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had their own research institute. All large-scale research projects were placed in the Ministry of Works. All small-scale research projects were carried out at home. It was convenient for the two of them to monitor the progress at any time. They could also guide and teach. 3 days later, Little Bei and the others planned to leave after the cement kiln produced a batch of cement that they could take with them. Before leaving, they treated all the children in the school to a meal. They had been eating in the school's cafeteria for the past few days. To them, the taste was very bad, but they still persevered. During the meal, they didn't mention leaving. Only when the children were full and constantly reminiscing about the delicious food that Xiao Bei and Xiao Yuan had treated them to did Xiao Bei mention that they were leaving Winshan. The children were stunned for a moment, then began to cry. The 9 people kept comforting them, saying that when the children grew up, they could come and play with them, or they could come over when they had time. After a while, the children finally realized that no matter how much they urged Xiao Bei and the others to stay, they had to leave. One by one, they began to prepare gifts. There were small wooden swords that they had cut themselves, bags made of rags, sachets filled with local medicinal herbs, and beautiful feathers from the pheasant's tail. Xiao Bei and the others didn't stand on ceremony. They accepted the gifts from others and hugged them goodbye. After being sent to the road outside the county, the children had to go back. Next was the gifts from the adults. In addition to the cement that they helped transport, there were also local specialties from the county: waxed meat from home, air-dried pheasants, fried noodles made of butter, and large amounts of century eggs and duck meat. The poor Wenshan County citizens gave almost everything they had. Xiao Bei and the others accepted all of it, but they didn't send anything back for the time being. They were waiting to sell the cement and spend more money elsewhere to buy other daily necessities before getting someone to send them back. They walked and stopped for noon until they reached the border of Wenshan County at night. Gongsun Weiyu stopped the people who wanted to continue sending them off. He stood on the flat ground, intending to watch Xiao Bei's group disappear from sight. Xiao Bei walked more than 100 meters before turning around and returning. He said to the puzzled Gongsun Weiyu, "I thought of something. During my days in the county, I realized that everyone's lighting wasn't good enough." Gongsun Weiyu suddenly understood and asked, "You want to build a power plant in this county and send light bulbs? What are you thinking about? Just wait and see if there's a chance in a few years. I see that everyone uses resin oil and fat oil. Some people even rest at night when it's dark. The children's lights are harmful to their eyes. Arrange for someone to make candlesticks now. I want to send 100,000 sticks of paraffin wax over," Xiao Bei said. Paraffin wax? Used by the rich and powerful in the capital? Gongsun Weiyu didn't understand paraffin wax. The rich and powerful in the capital use light bulbs. The cost of paraffin wax is very low, and it's a very depressing byproduct. The people in the petrochemical department of the Ministry of Works are constantly fighting with paraffin wax. It's like the ash left behind after burning charcoal in a kiln. It needs to be cleaned up. If we have to talk about cost, it's the transportation cost. Recently, oil processing has increased, so there's a lot of paraffin wax in the capital. We've discussed and decided to leave a small portion for other places to use. We'll buy the rest and ship it over here. We'll send 100,000 sticks to Wenshan County." Xiao Bei explained to Gongsun Weiyu like a good teacher. Gongsun Weiyu pondered for a moment before saying worriedly, "It's too far to ship it from the capital. It's easy for the candles to break on the bumpy road. Also, the cost of transporting and buying them isn't small. Have you discussed this with young Master Xiao Bao?" "What's there to discuss? It's our own money. We can use it however we want. Why would we look for my brother and sister for such a trivial matter? Also, who told you that the paraffin wax is shipped over one stick at a time? It's buckets at a time. If it wasn't for the fact that the weather is too hot, we could have just piled it up and shipped it over. Once it's shipped over, our new processing workshop will be ready. We can provide work for some people, especially the women who can't find work at home." Xiao Bei realized that he was really smart. He knew a lot of things that Gongsun Weiyu didn't know. Gongsun Weiyu continued to have an expression of being taught. He pondered and said expectantly, "Can we move the processing area to Wenshan County? We have a manpower and the price is low. Don't count on it, unless you can build a spacious road and solve the problem of animal labor. Remember to make a wax stand. The bottom is like a small bowl. It can catch the excess melted wax. It won't be wasted and is easy to clean. Bamboo is good, but it needs to be polished smooth. It's best if there's a buckle at the bottom that can be easily replaced." Xiao Bei reminded him again, then shook his head. He seemed to think that Gongsun Weiyu was a child who couldn't be taught. The other Yamen officials and commoners beside Gongsun Weiyu also felt that the usually smart official had become stupid today. If it was another high-ranking official, they would probably be angry. It was said that high-ranking officials had bad tempers. Gongsun Weiyu had indeed become stupid. He felt that there was no need to be anxious about what Xiao Bei said, so he suggested, "There are other things to do in the county. It's easy to make wax stands. Why don't we wait until it's shipped to the county? There's no rush for now. If you insist on making us do it now, we will do it." At this time, Xiao Yuan, who had followed behind, was unhappy. "It's as if we are forcing you. We want to ship a lot of paraffin wax. You only think about your own county's use and not others. My Xiao Bei wants you to organize people to make a lot of wax stands, then ship them out from the river and sell them outside. As soon as our wax arrives, we will immediately make a lot of candles. Before others can react, our county can ship out a batch of wax stands and sell them directly. The more exquisite, nimble, and convenient you make them, the higher the price. Isn't it good to seize the opportunity to earn a sum of money and make a name for Wenshan County's reputation? I'm now wondering how you graduated from Jinjia Academy. You actually missed the opportunity to make a fortune. How did I become yours? Xiao Bei glared at Xia Yuan, then turned to Gongsun Weiyu and said, You have to be flexible. You have to be flexible as an official. You have to be like a child who dares to fantasize. You have to be as strict as a craftsman. You have to be like an opportunist looking for opportunities. Our dynasty's development is not bad, but there are two problems with officials. First, local officials only understand the local situation, but don't understand the new way of thinking. They don't know how to change, and don't even think about changing the status quo. Second, officials from the imperial court feel that they have learned a lot of theories and could do a lot of things when they go to the local area. In the end, they're not familiar with the local situation and blindly give orders, slapping their heads and making decisions, then leaving after making a mistake. In the end, the moment they leave, they will be dealt with. Do they think that our Tang dynasty's countless patrol officers are just decorations? Gongsun Weiyu nodded repeatedly and looked at Xiao Bei with fear. Little girl, you really know a lot. The old man appeared again. He walked forward and patted Xiao Bei's head. Xiao Bei blushed and said embarrassedly, Brother and sister told us on the boat. They also said a lot of other things, but I didn't remember them. That's not bad. What you remember is very useful. The old man continued to praise her. Thank you, thank you. We're really leaving. We'll come back again in the future. Hey, what are you crying for? We're leaving Wenshan County, not going to die. We'll be able to eat good food once we reach Idyll. To be honest, I've been having a hard time eating the school cafeteria these past few days. Some of the dishes aren't even seasoned properly. I'm going to enjoy my life. After leaving behind a bunch of words, Xiao Bei pulled Xiao Yuan and skipped away. The people sending them off silently watched the group disappear from sight. For a long time, no one made a sound. It was only when a flock of wild birds flew up from the trees that the crowd came to their senses. What a good child. It's a pity she's gone. How good would it be if she stayed in the county forever? A man who had helped carry the things said reluctantly, One can't be too selfish. If she stays here forever, what about others? Later, we'll have the school cafeteria change to a smaller pot. Xiao Bei and the others are really too much. They don't say anything even if it's not good. I don't see them eating less and eating happily. So it's because they're holding it in. Sigh. The old man suddenly felt his heart ache and was even angrier. The school cooks were not cooking properly. Gongsun Weiyu also said, Of course, what do they usually eat? The last meal today was cooked by them. We've all tasted it, right? It's a world of difference. If I had children like Xiao Bei and the others, I'd give them my heart and liver, another person said. Gongsun Weiyu and Weiwei smiled. It's not just you. It's the same for everyone. If Xiao Bei follows His Majesty to court, she will sit on the same dragon chair as His Majesty. Even the officials of the censorate will pretend they don't know. Huh? The people around them exclaimed. The old man said in disbelief, Not impeaching. Impeachment is fine. If any official dares to stand up and impeach Xiao Bei and the others, His Majesty will first send someone to investigate this official. If you want to make a name for yourself by stepping on Xiao Bei, you'll have to pay with your life. Moreover, even if the impeachment is successful, His Majesty will first issue an edict of self-guilt, and then Xiao Bei will admit her mistake. You can't cut off the head of a child like her, right? At most, she'll be sentenced to exile. Will they care? When Minister Zhang from the Ministry of Works went to Luzhou, others thought he was being exiled. But now, what's happening to Luzhou? Gongsun Weiyu said with a smile. After saying that, he laughed heartily. The others were also very happy. Go back. Find someone to make a wax stand. It has to be carefully designed. When the paraffin wax comes, we'll make a profit first. As expected of Xiao Bao's sister, You can think of a way to make money in the blink of an eye. I'll draw a simple logo and put the logo on everything produced in the county." With a wave of his hand, Gongsun Weiyu led the people back. The torches flickered, the wind was comfortable, and the night was enchanting. "Let's go to Weizhou." Xiao Bei asked someone to bring a map and asked Sister Xiao Zhu about the location. She pointed to the west of Weizhou. "We're not going back to Weizhou." Little Yuan still wanted to go back and eat good food. "Who will we sell the cement to in Weizhou?" "Weizhou is more remote. We have to buy things and send them to Anshan first. They gave us most of the things in their house. What if they starve to death?" Using the light, Xiao Bei held a boiled duck and gnawed on it. It was a freshly cooked duck. He ate 2 mouthfuls and drank some water. It was spicy. Little Yuan reached out and plucked a wing from Xiao Bei's duck. She nodded and said, "That's right. I support you." Thus, the group changed their route and headed for Weizhou. Because they needed to carry some things, they had to travel for 3 days over the mountains before they arrived at a county near Weizhou called Yuancheng, which was also part of Maozhou. This place was less than 6 hours away from the main city of Weizhou. "We're arriving at night again. Let's set up camp. It's a mess inside. There's no place to set up camp." Xiao Bei felt sorry for the people in the group. It was not a special situation. There was no need to be tired all the time. It was not worth it to force the troops to walk all the way. The accompanying guards and logistics personnel did not think much of it. They treated it as training. Usually, they would train once every 20 days to maintain their combat strength. They could face any emergency and be pulled out to fight. They could win the battle and take pride in it. They were an elite team that had 24 hours, all weather and all terrain. The next morning, a portion of the group hurriedly ate breakfast and followed the little ancestors to Tonghua County to take a look at the situation. If there were enough resources, they could buy them and get someone to send them to Anshan. The group did not enter and went directly to the main city of Weizhou. The group of about 100 people walked for half an hour before they finally saw the main road. It was about 3 meters wide and had green grass and red, white, and purple wildflowers growing on it. On one side of the road was a wasteland, and on the other side was farmland. It could be seen that barley was planted there. The seedlings were uneven, probably because no one took good care of them. Xiao Bei picked up the binoculars and said happily, "It's better than Winshan. There are signs of people in front. Are we walking in a village or outside a city?" "It's inside a city. There are no outer city walls outside Tonghua County. There are no earthen walls. It's only an area because there are troops stationed in Weizhou." Xiao Zhu had a deeper understanding of maps. She could even draw many maps of the Great Tang down to the county. "Let's go in. If we had known earlier, we would have eaten less. We could have tried the local delicacies of Tonghua County." Xiao Bei began to regret. She had drunk a large bowl of chili soup, stuffed 3 fried cakes, half a plate of dried tofu in chili oil, and 2 tea eggs. Perhaps it was too early, but there was no one on the road. There was only the shadow of an old man herding sheep on the side of the mountain before disappearing again. After walking for about 10 minutes, the group saw houses and people carrying poles in front of them. Just as it was about to be lively, there was a commotion behind them. "Get out of the way! Get out of the way! Get out of the way! Get out of the way!" The voices came from different people. Xiao Bei and the others were shocked and quickly hid in the wasteland by the side of the road. The guards had already put their hands on the guns under their clothes. "Wait first. Maybe there's something urgent," Xiao Hai instructed. Everyone turned their heads to look at the group of people behind them. After a few glances, the number of people was estimated to be between 500 and 600. They took up about 3 meters of the road. They formed a long line and walked forward in a mighty manner. The 6 people who had started to curse stared at Xiao Bei and the others with vigilance. At the same time, they were panting. It seemed that they had just run over. After a while, the group behind them came over. There were 2 rows of 40 people in front of them holding poles. The poles had flags on them. There was a cartoon pattern of alfalfa on the flags. This group of people slowly passed by. Then, a shout of light drum sounded. Behind the 40 people, there were 20 people with small drums hanging from their waists. They quickly and lightly hit the drumsticks. Dong, dong, dong. The continuous sound lingered in everyone's ears. Then, there were 100 people wearing dark green, close-fitting tunics. Each of them had a sword at their waist. The tassels of their swords reached the ground. They walked over with their heads held high. Then, there was a group of horses. It was hard to count at the moment. Anyway, there were 2 horses moving side by side. There were people on the horses. When they walked over, they counted that there were 60 horses. After the group of horses, there were 8 people carrying a house, a palanquin with a cover around it. Anyway, it was something with a frame around it and a curtain over the frame. There were 11 of these things in a row. Behind these things were also 100 people carrying swords. They were a little further away, so they couldn't be seen clearly. However, there were mules. They were probably supplies. At this time, one of the things in the middle of the 11 frames, which was the 6th one, arrived in front of Xiao Bei and the others. Following the order to stop from inside, the 8 people carrying this thing stopped moving. After a few breaths, the curtain at the window of this thing was lifted from inside, revealing a face. It looked to be around 14 or 15 years old. Because its hair was not tied up, it was clear that it was less than 15 years old. The slightly older child scanned the faces of Xiao Bei and the others twice. His mouth opened slightly, and he exerted force in his abdomen. He asked with a nasal voice, "Who are you people? Where did you come from?" Xiao Bei and the others didn't say anything. They just sized up this older child. "My young master is asking you a question. Are all of you mute or deaf?" A person in brown silk who was following beside this thing asked. Immediately, Xiao Bei's eyes lit up. He seemed very excited. Xiao Yuan and the others also looked excited. "Yo, you still don't want to say anything. Do you think that we can't do anything to you if you don't say anything? If you don't know what's good for you, we'll teach you a lesson. There are quite a lot of people. TSK, TSK, TSK. These little fellows are quite exquisite." The person who spoke just now was obviously a manager or someone carrying a flag started to criticize them again. At this moment, Xiao Bei's breathing became hurried. He rubbed his hands together and said in a timid voice, We are just passing by and want to go to the county to buy something. We are hungry and haven't eaten in the morning. We will leave after we finish buying." "Really? Really?" The older child in the car repeated her words in a crooked voice. He looked at Xiao Bei from head to toe, grinned, and said affectionately, "What do you want to buy, little girl? Tell Big Brother. If Big Brother is happy, maybe he will give it to you for free." Usually, people called Xiao Bei little lady because it was a habit of speaking. However, when this young man called her little lady, it was definitely a tease. Xiao Bei's face was red, and his eyes were about to narrow from smiling. He excitedly stuck out his tongue and continued, I want to buy something to eat. Rice, noodles, meat, and vegetables. There's so many people, so we need to eat." Yes, we need to eat. If this little lady is hungry, this young master's heart will ache. "Little sister, where are you from? What does your family do?" The young man was even happier. He opened his mouth and smiled. His 2 big buck teeth didn't reflect the beauty of other people's tiger teeth. Xiao Yuan was unhappy. "We came from the east. Our family does everything. It's hard to explain in a short time. You go on your way." "Shut up. Did this young master ask you a question?" There's a saying that illness comes from a mouth and disaster comes from a mouth. Today, this young master is in a good mood. There are beautiful things waiting for me in the county, so I will let you go for now. Little sister, let's go together. Come to Big Brother's carriage. The young man reprimanded Xiao Yuan and then began to talk to Xiao Bei. Xiao Bei nervously shook his head. "No, we're going different ways. I won't go in." After saying this, he hid behind someone else. "Won't go in. If you don't go in, you'll starve. Big Brother is waiting for you in the county. And you, brat, I don't care who you are. In Tunghua, if you're a dragon, you have to give this young master a plate. If you're a tiger, you have to lie down for me. If you want to be a tortoise, don't show your head. Otherwise, I'll smash your shell. In Tunghua, this young master doesn't need a reason to deal with people. Let's go. We'll wait for my little sister in the county." The young man closed his eyes and raised his chin. The curtains were drawn down. The group continued to move forward. The steward looked at Xiao Bei and the others again. The corners of his mouth curled up. He coldly snorted, raised his head, and walked away. Behind them was indeed an army of supplies. They grandiosely walked in front of Xiao Bei and the others, kicking up a lot of dust. Little girl, not counting the people inside that thing, there are exactly 600 people, a steward reported to Xiao Bei. Xiao Bei had been rubbing his hands the whole time. When he heard the voice, he beamed with joy and nodded vigorously. After a while, his eyes turned into crescent moons. He said to Xiao Yuan, this is great. What did Big Brother and Big Sister say? Yes, it's that those with aspirations will succeed. Cut off the cauldrons and sink the boats. 200 Qin passes will eventually belong to Chu. Those who work hard, the heavens will not let them down. They will endure hardships to taste their gall. 3,000 Yujia can swallow Wu. Can't this be considered as the beginning of a happy ending? Ha 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 ha, do you see? Do you see? If I didn't say we were going to Wei Zhou, we would have gone straight back to Yizhou. How could we have come across such a good thing? I only realized today that you're really handsome, Xiao Yuan. When Xiao Bei said this happily, he hugged Xiao Yuan's head and kissed him hard on the face. Xiao Yuan's face instantly turned red. He muttered, I've always been handsome. Be reserved, Xiao Hai said to Xiao Bei. Xiao Bei kissed Xiao Hai again. Big brother, I realize that you're also very handsome. Xiao Hai looked at the sky helplessly and didn't say anything. Xiao Bei took out a bottle of fruit juice from his bag and drank a few mouthfuls to calm his emotions. He said to the person beside him, Uncle Zhang, we have to think of a way to get in, right? We can't take this route anymore. That brat will probably be waiting for us. Help me think of a way. I'm going to secretly investigate today. The person Xiao Bei called Uncle Zhang was naturally the third steward of the Zhang family and the Wang family. He was in charge of the little ancestors' affairs. When he heard Xiao Bei's words, he began to mourn for the people who had just passed by. Along the way, the little ancestors had been looking forward to the stars and the moon, hoping to find someone to tidy them up. Unfortunately, the two officials they had met before hadn't been able to do so. Now, the heavens had finally fulfilled their wishes. Whose child was that? If the procession's ceremonial guards were to be added with some illegal items, it would be an official of the third rank or above. Moreover, it would be an official procession, not the usual ceremonial guards used to attend court. For example, they would go to the lower ranks to inspect the lower ranks, welcome the princes and above from the foreign vassals, or accompany the emperor's ceremonial guards to serve as a foil. The difference was that there was no gong to open the road. The 8 people didn't carry a carriage, and there were no yellow silk umbrellas on top. Those who had weapons wore swords instead of knives, axes, and halberds. Otherwise, they would be directly executed and their entire family would be executed. Even so, it was enough to show off. The main problem was that he had offended the little ancestors. The little ancestors were usually humble, but that didn't mean that they didn't have a temper. Just as the brat who didn't know how he would die in the future said, there was no need for a reason to deal with people in Tonghua. Then, the little ancestors of the Zhang family didn't need an explanation when deciding the life and death of people in the whole world. However, they had never done so before. With a sigh, this Uncle Zhang, who was also the third steward Zhangqing, started to come up with ideas. If the Lord was worried, the Lord would work, and if the Lord was humiliated, the Lord would die. Just based on a matter just now, even if the brat was considered to be light, it would be 80 strokes of the cane or 200 strokes of the whip. It just depended on the status of the little ancestors. Little ancestor, we have to take a detour and split up first. After disguising ourselves, we will gather in the county town. You can't go there first. Wait until we send people to find a place to stay and hide. Then you can go there. Zhang Qing said to Xiao Bei. Xiao Bei nodded. Okay. Uncle Zhang has troubled you. This is what I think. It's really not that we want to bully him. Look, we were standing by the roadside. When his procession came, we moved aside, right? However, he still wanted to bully us. Not only did he tease me, but he also scolded Xiao Yuan. Who is Xiao Yuan? He's my future husband, right? Shouldn't I be considerate of my husband? Xiao Yuan was stunned when he heard this. He thought to himself, "You're right. Why didn't you say that in the past? Furthermore, I can guarantee that you will bully me the next time you turn around. Are you really that shameless when it comes to diplomacy?" How could Xiao Bei know what Xiao Yuan was thinking? She smiled sweetly at Xiao Yuan and continued, Also, there's that. He dares to bully so many of us. It can be seen how arrogant he is. It was likely that he had done a lot of things like bullying men and women and disregarding human lives. If we don't deal with him, we won't be able to appease the anger of the people. If we don't deal with him, we won't be able to uphold the might of the heavens. If we don't deal with him, we won't be able to. My Xiao Bei, as long as you tell me to do anything to him, this old servant will do anything to him. You don't have to waste your time looking for reasons and excuses. Zhang Qing tried to persuade them. Suddenly, he felt that his little brats were still the best. Before they acted, they would always find the other party's fault. It had been like this all along the way. If they couldn't find the other party's fault, they would just bear with it, even if they really wanted to find someone to teach them a lesson. Xiao Bei smiled. Punishing without teaching is called torture. I'm different from him. He thinks that he has some power in a place, so he's so arrogant. He bullies his own people and outsiders to show off his power. I'm in charge of the lives of the officials of the Great Tang. Who do I need to show off my abilities to? He's afraid that others aren't afraid of him, so he wants to suppress everyone. I hope that the officials of the Great Tang aren't afraid of me. It shows that they are righteous and upright. It's a blessing for the people of the Great Tang. Those who fear me have a guilty conscience. This old servant is lucky to be able to follow the little lady and the little young masters. This old servant is very lucky. After Xiao Bei finished speaking, Zhang Qing knelt on the ground and shouted. The others also knelt down and shouted. All right, get up. I'm quite embarrassed. I don't usually see you kneeling. Are you crazy today? You believe a few words to fool people. Help me find out. I'm going to teach him a lesson, Xiao Bei said bashfully with a red face. Thus, the people who were kneeling just now all stood up. They were all expressionless, as if nothing had happened just now. Zhang Qing found a few people to disguise themselves and entered the county. The rest of the people retreated and found a place far away from the main road to hide. They would wait for the people to come back. Seeing the little ancestor quietly sitting there and waiting, Zhang Qing revealed a comfortable smile. He knew that he didn't need to send people to find any evidence. He could just directly crush the other party. But since the little ancestor wanted to play, he could only accompany them. It had been a long and tiring journey, so it was good to have some fun. An hour later, the people he sent came back one after another. They brought back quite a few clothes and 4 land deeds. Half an hour later, Xiao Bei and the other 9 people were dressed up in various ways. Some were carried on poles, some were led by people who were beaten up as if they were escaping, and some were carried on people's backs as if they were sick. The group took a detour and entered the county. The population of Tunghua County was actually much smaller than that of Wenshan, but there were few villages in Tunghua County. At the same time, most of the people who were registered lived in the county. Unlike Wenshan, where more than 20 villages were registered, there were many people in the other mountains who were not registered. There were also people who were not registered in Tunghua County. They also lived in the mountains or sailed by the river. No one was willing to check their household register. Naturally, these 2 places were still okay. For example, Luzhou, when he was registered in a province, there were only a few people. However, when the mountain people left the mountains, they registered one after another. They could easily choose young and strong men to form a large army. They were the legendary Guangxi wolf soldiers. They were short, strong, and good at swimming in the jungle. They were good at ambushing and using poison. They often jumped and attacked head-on and loved to cut off the enemy's head. They were uneducated and held grudges. They would be loyal if they were subdued. It was precisely because of this that when Zhang Zhong brought his family from Luzhou to Shuzhou, no one wanted to kill them. When the wolf soldiers fought against the imperial court as tribes, it was very difficult to destroy them. They were usually pacified. Once they formed an army, no one dared to touch them. Chapter 1199. Because the businesses of the families under investigation were only concentrated in Tenghua and were not big businesses, and there were no businesses of the Zhang family and Wang family in Tenghua County. The information obtained was not very detailed. The people sent out to investigate only had a rough understanding. From this, it could be seen that the Chun family did have power in the area, but it also showed that their family had not reached the level of 100% control of Tenghua County. If it were Sanshui County, outsiders would not be able to obtain any information if they directly inquired about the situation of the Zhang family and Wang family in Zhuangzi. At the same time, they would be targeted, and it would not be easy to leave. Xiaobei and the other 9 people began the meeting. They expanded the meeting to allow the think tanks of the other families to participate. Xiaobei spoke first. I have a question to ask. Please help me analyze it. Since the Chun family in Maozhou's Tenghua County is able to cover the sky with one hand, why didn't our inspection team find evidence of collusion between officials and merchants? Xiaobei was asking about the 6 people in the left corner. These 6 people were dressed similarly. Every one of them wore loose clothes with high collars that completely covered their hands and necks. They even wore sunglasses, regardless of whether the room was dark or not. These 6 people were specially chosen. They were the best at scheming. If they stood in the front, they would not be able to do anything. If they were placed in the shadows, they would play a big role. Number 1, you speak. Xiao Yuan called out names. Because the 6 people did not like others to call their names directly, they used numbers instead. One of the 6 people lowered his head and covered his mouth with one hand. He said in a low voice, "If I were in charge of the Chun family, I would consider the problem of the Tang Empire's inspection team. I would not give them direct evidence. At the same time, I would be willing to pay money to support the administrative plan of the county officials." After waiting for a while, Xiaobei saw that he did not speak, so he asked, "Anything else?" "Let me add." Another person wearing sunglasses said, "The reason why we can't find any problems is that when the Chun family was doing business, they did not hoard important livelihood goods and inflate the price of goods. When they force others to submit, they do not do it through force. They can use money and influence the people around them. In other words, even if someone was bullied by them, there is no evidence to prove that what they did was not in accordance with our dynasty's laws. Zhang Yang did not commit a crime." Xiaobei started to worry. He really couldn't find any evidence of the other party's crimes. Could it be that he had to use his status to suppress them? Little Yuan suggested, "Give them a taste of their own medicine. Once it's confirmed that they're oppressing others through other means, we'll do the same. Continue the investigation. I don't believe that they are clean. Not to mention them, is my family clean? If it weren't for my brother and sister's strength and my family's power, we would have been exterminated 10 times over. For example, last month, the construction of a precious candy house in Hunan province was going on around the clock. It was so noisy that the people around it couldn't rest well. Moreover, the pile of materials fell down, injuring 2 people. Normally speaking, they should stop working and send the person in charge to the authorities to be whipped. They would be locked up for at least 10 days to half a month. What do we do? If money was used, the construction site would continue as usual, and the matter would be over after paying the injured people some money. The authorities didn't send anyone to investigate, and the victim didn't seem to have any intention of holding on. Little Hai spoke frankly about the dark side of his family. Little Bei said in a low voice, "We paid a lot of money. The 2 injured people won't be disabled. We gave them 500 strings of cash each. The surrounding neighbors calculated based on the number of people, regardless of size, 30 strings of cash each. We also gave them a lot of seafood and meat. In fact, they didn't say anything. They didn't report it to the authorities when they were arguing, and the people who were smashed never said anything about pursuing the matter. We were the ones who took the initiative to compensate. That's because we have a reputation and people are willing to support us. This matter has always made me feel uncomfortable. I always feel like I owe them a lot. I have to find an opportunity to compensate them. Otherwise, I won't be able to sleep peacefully." Little Hai was more rigorous in his work and was unwilling to find excuses for himself. Yes. The people are so good. What's that little bit of money? Bullying the easy to bully is a crime. If it were my family, I definitely wouldn't be so kind. Do you still remember how my family's villager's leg was broken in Hunan province? At that time, my family took revenge. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. No matter how much money we paid, it was useless no matter who we asked for help. Little Yuan echoed. That's because my brother and sister style of doing things is different. Otherwise, they wouldn't say things like, if you kill one of my people, I'll slaughter your village. Let's get down to business first. Send a report first. Transfer Shuayun's family over, and keep an eye on the Chen family. Little Bei changed the topic again. Tong Hua's Chun family, which was targeted by Little Bei's group of 9, was currently shrouded in a tense atmosphere. The eldest young master, who had just returned from outside, was directly called to the study and reprimanded, saying that he shouldn't be showing off outside at such a time. Then, the entire family began to discuss. The Chen family's residence was in the county town. The county town had 2 vertical and 3 horizontal streets and countless small alleys. Overall, the county town was divided into 12 irregular blocks, one of which was occupied by the Chun family. It was no longer a matter of how many houses there were. The entire area was filled with countless houses and layers of courtyards. There were small bridges and flowing water, green willows and red flowers, ginkgo trees that reached the sky, rockery that led to seclusion, and winding corridors that stopped at platforms. The Chen family had 3 branches. The old master was still alive, but he didn't manage the family affairs. All the family affairs were handed over to the eldest branch. At this time, the main members of the 3rd branch had all come to the family's discussion hall. The old master sat in to listen, and the heads of the 3 branches were in charge of discussing. Each family also brought their sons to learn. There were 3 people in the eldest branch, the head of the family, and 2 sons. The eldest son was the one who met Little Bei outside. There was also a boy who was 10 years old. His eyes were always darting around. He seemed very clever and lacked a trace of calmness. There were only 2 people in the 2nd branch. In addition to the head of the family, there was also a son who was older than the eldest son of the eldest branch. He was already 20 years old this year. He sat there with a calm expression, but his gaze was threatening. When people looked at him, they would always have 2 thoughts in their hearts. One was to ignore him. So what if his gaze was threatening? What could he do to him? The other was to look at him. Who didn't know how to put on a pretentious look? Only he knew how to do it. The eldest young master, who had interacted with Little Bei before, had the urge to gouge his eyes out. If they looked at each other, he didn't have enough confidence. If they didn't look at each other, he seemed to have a guilty conscience. Obviously, his status was the highest among his generation, but everyone thought highly of this person from the 2nd branch. There was also the 3rd branch. The 3rd branch had a lot of people and was fertile. It was also the branch that the old master liked the most. They had many grandchildren and could have many children. The 3rd branch had a lot of sons. There were actually 7 in the family. Excluding the head of the family, there were 6 people. The eldest son had yet to be crowned and looked 2 years younger than the 2nd branch. Of the remaining 5, 2 looked very similar, and the other 3 looked very similar. Naturally, they were the twins and triplets. The twins were 13 or 14 years old. They were about the same age as the young master of the 1st branch. Moreover, they had one thing in common, which was that they had dark circles under their eyes. It seemed that they had overindulged. Now, sitting there, they also looked drowsy and listless. Each of the triplets had a silver collar around their neck and emerald bracelets on their wrists. They were the youngest of the triplets. Looking at how they would twist their bodies after sitting for a while, they were at most 4 or 5 years old. They didn't dare to make a sound, but they didn't stay idle. There were clearly many snacks and fruits on the table, but they insisted on grabbing a plate. After being glared at by the adults, they became obedient for a few breaths, then turned their heads and began to compete with each other again. This was the situation in the Chun family's discussion hall. There were no women, and the servant girls were also not present. After delivering the snacks and tea, they went out and stayed far away. Let's start. The old master, who was listening at the side, said to his eldest son, then closed his eyes and narrowed his eyes. The head of the first branch also had the surname Chun, which was the same as his father's, Chun Guangho. The second and third brothers were called Chun Guangliang and Chun Guangchuan respectively. They belonged to the Guang generation, and the next generation belonged to the Yao generation. For example, his son was called Chun Yaozu, and the son of the second branch was called Chun Yaodong. If there was a next generation, it would probably be the Guang generation. But this hope was very slim now. Chun Yaozu had offended someone he shouldn't have offended and couldn't afford to offend. The matter discussed in the family today was related to the person Chun Yaozu had offended. It has been confirmed that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan have both arrived in Idyll. The war will start at any time. We can't control the war, and we don't have soldiers to send. Even if they don't force us to take money, we don't need to take the initiative to support them. Chun Guangho coughed and swept his eyes over everyone's face as he spoke slowly. Except for the old master, who was still sleeping, everyone sat up straight. Even the 3 children who were playing around stopped and became obedient in an instant. Chun Guangho lowered his eyes to Wei Wei and continued. The family's business still needs to be done, but there is a priority, especially the goods in the West. Temporarily stop. The people sitting there didn't make a sound and listened quietly. The rule in the family was that if the eldest branch didn't allow you to speak, you weren't allowed to interrupt. Otherwise, you would be punished at least and expelled from the family at most. Stop one business, and other businesses need to be strengthened. The business isn't the most important. If it really can't be done, then stop. With the family savings, it may not decline after a few decades. Chun Guangho showed a pained expression when he said that the family's business had to be stopped. Clearly, he was very distressed. He pursed his lips for a while and sighed. What worries me the most is that someone will use the family's name to do things outside and provoke others. Spending money can solve the problem. But now it's Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan who came. If the two of them were busy with the arrangements for the war and didn't have time to care about other things, then their younger brother and sister had been waiting for someone to stir up trouble. For example, the third branch's Yao Hong and Yao Wei always like to dress up as ordinary people and then secretly provoke people around Tonghua. When others make a move, they will teach them a good lesson. This won't do, absolutely not. If you stir up trouble, you'll be causing trouble for the family. Tonghua, Chun, won't be like the Chun family. What's wrong with hanging out with a bunch of hooligans all day? The head of the third branch, Chun Guangchuan, sat there with a gloomy expression and didn't say a word. His 2 sons, the twins, couldn't control their bodies from trembling. The 2 of them were the ones who were just talking about. When they had nothing to do, they liked to pretend to be ordinary people and then look for opportunities to teach others a lesson. Every time they saw the regret and fear in the eyes of those who were taught a lesson, they would feel great satisfaction. Chun Guangchuan didn't say anything, but his eyes were looking at the eldest son of Chun Guangho, Chun Yaozu, who had met Xiao Bei before. His second and third sons did indeed mix with a bunch of idle people on the streets, but nothing major had ever happened, let alone cause someone to lose their life. No matter how bad his 2 sons were, they weren't arrogant. Look at your son. He usually goes out to find hundreds of people, all for money. Moreover, he bullies men and women, and he even has 2 lives on his hands. When outsiders die at his hands, even if you, as his father, help clean up after him, others might not know, but how could I not know? His third son was unhappy, but his second son acted like nothing had happened. His son, Chun Yaodong, still had a threatening gaze and didn't move. Third son, in the future, you have to watch your family. My words aren't directed at your family, but at the entire Chun family. As I said just now, I heard that Zhang Xiaobei and the others went to Wenshan County. I reckon that the county magistrate, Wang Chang, won't be able to stay. Wang Chang's life or death has nothing to do with us. I'm just afraid that after dealing with Wang Chang, they'll be annoyed and move to our Tonghua County. Remember this. If anyone dares to provoke them, I'll beat them to death and send them to ask for punishment. Tell the subordinates to open their eyes one by one. Everything in Tonghua County must be stable. When the clan goes out to buy groceries, they're not allowed to bargain. Tell the county magistrate, Zhao Jianghao, that will spend money to build a good school and put the children in there. Yes, we can't always be the ones to lose out. Tell the other merchants in the county to get a share. Chen Guangho finished speaking in a low voice. He waited for a while before drinking 2 mouthfuls of tea. He lightly knocked the teacup on the table, making a crisp, tinkling sound. Then, he nodded to his second and third brothers. Who has anything to say? Hearing that their boss allowed them to speak, Chen Guangliang and Chen Guanchuan looked at each other. Then, Chen Guangliang spoke up. Big brother, I don't object to stopping the trade in the West. After all, if people find out, the clan will be exterminated. But should we sell the goods that came 10 days ago? If we sell them, the amount will be too large. It'll easily arouse the vigilance of Zhang Xiaobao and the others. Once they start investigating, we won't be able to hide from them no matter how hard we try. Who can hide from the Zhang family and Wang family's intelligence personnel? Back then, in the Jiangnan Dao, the 3 major powers moved together. It only prevented the Zhang family and Wang family's intelligence personnel from finding out where the main person was hiding. It wasn't that they couldn't find any clues. At that time, if the Zhang family and Wang family weren't anxious, they would eventually find out. In the end, we forced Zhang Xiaobao to make a move. As for the result, I think everyone already knows. I'm worried that we'll be found out when we sell the goods. If we don't sell the goods and keep them in our hands, the amount of fodder and manpower we consume every day is not a small amount. If we throw money into the goods that were originally going to be turned into money, how can a family business bear the cost? As soon as Chen Guangliang finished speaking, he also picked up his tea and drank. He only mentioned the problem, but didn't mention the slightest method to solve it. He pushed the problem to Chen Guangho. For a moment, the hall was so quiet that the sound of breathing was almost inaudible. The atmosphere in the hall suddenly became more oppressive. The 3 children of Chen Guanchuan's family kept their mouths shut and nervously clenched their small hands into fists. Chen Guangho's hands were crossed in front of his chest. His 2 thumbs were constantly moving around each other. Occasionally, he would stop and press the pads of his thumbs together. Just like that, a full quarter of an hour passed. When the children found it difficult to breathe, Chen Guangho let out a muffled groan from his nose. The weather is getting hotter and hotter. When there's a war, there's bound to be people transporting supplies. Our northern region of Jiangnan Dao will be more prosperous. Pepper and sweet garlic are good food, but vinegar is not only good for dipping dumplings and steamed buns. Chen Guangho said these words while everyone was waiting for him. As soon as he finished speaking, he closed his eyes and leaned back, shrinking his body. The others were even more puzzled. The children couldn't worry about the family, so they weren't nervous when they heard the movement. Chen Guangho's eldest son, Chen Yaozu, had a confused expression, while the only son of the second branch, Chen Yaodong, had a slightly relaxed expression. Chen Guangliang and Chen Guanchun were in deep thought, and the hall was silent again. Everyone thought about it, but they still couldn't figure out what the patriarch meant. The third son, Chen Guanchuan, was about to ask. Chen Guangho suddenly said, "This is easy. I will arrange a solution. Let the Yao clan do it. He has done many things. Although not perfect, he is stable. If there are any other questions, go to your own thing. Don't forget what I said. Look after your own people. If they get into trouble, you won't be able to protect your family." After saying that, he got up and walked out, nodding to his father who was still lying on the chair. His 2 sons hurriedly chased after him and left together. Let's go. I will take Dong with me. Third brother, you are still free." The second son, Chen Guangliang, signaled to his son and swayed out with his hands behind his back. Chen Guanchuan and his family looked at each other. Chen Guanchuan smacked his lips and put the lid back on the teacup. He turned to the old man and said, "Father, if you are tired, why don't you rest in the back? The hall is too empty. You will catch a cold if you sleep for a long time." The old man seemed to have just been woken up. He opened his mouth and yawned, stretched, and looked around. "Are you done? Do as your eldest brother said. It's okay to suffer a small loss occasionally. There is a future if you live. Your eldest brother is right. Although Xiao Bei and the others have high positions, they are still children. They don't care about governing the country, so they can only find trouble with others all day long. Father knows that your eldest brother's family is not reassuring. Have the two boys in your family ever been easy to worry about? Go ahead and capture their studies. When Xiao Bei and the others leave, that's when the children will be released. It's better to be bored at home than to die. The old man of the Chun family got up and shook his legs. After saying the last word, he walked to the door, turned around, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Chun Guanchuan stared at the door and shook his head. The old man is still young. I thought he was confused. Sigh. Father, do you really want us to study at home? Father, we promise not to cause trouble when we go out. If others don't have eyes, we will hide. Chen Yaoong, one of the twins, heard every word and begged his father. No one knew his son better than his father. Chen Guanchuan would never believe what his son said. He opened his eyes wide and reprimanded. You promise. How many times have you promised? You want to cause trouble with the identity of ordinary people. In the end, you show your identity and reverse the situation. You win because others have no temper, and you win because of arrogance. Let me tell you, you can't be arrogant in the surrounding area. Xiao Bei and the others also like to pretend to be ordinary people. If you meet them, what do you two use to win? Father, they can't be unreasonable. Can we not provoke others? Chen Yao Wei chimed in. Reasonable? You two are usually unreasonable, but now you want to be reasonable with me? If you don't provoke them, won't they provoke you? Go and study, go and study. Chen Guanchuan shook his head and walked out. He met the housekeeper at the door and said, Tell the family that no one is allowed to let them out. Otherwise, they will be punished. Chapter 1200. In Idyll City, a grand banquet was being held in a restaurant. The entire restaurant was not open to the public. The old men from the sanatorium were sitting around 3 tables, drinking and chatting. From time to time, loud laughter and curses could be heard. The other tables were filled with people of different ages, all of whom were the children and grandchildren of the old men. The old men who came here would not work for nothing. Not only did they come here themselves, but they also brought the younger generation who was not in an important position in the imperial court. Their purpose was self-evident. Xiao Bao, looking at the dishes, it doesn't seem like you made them yourself. Let me taste them. Sure enough, they lack the taste of home. Tell me, are you worthy of us who came here from thousands of miles away? We already have 1 foot in the coffin and half of our bodies buried in the ground. You still don't let us experience the feeling of home. How can you bear to do that? At the table, Baigo wolfed down a piece of lamb chop and swallowed it with narrowed eyes. He then drank a mouthful of wine and questioned Zhang Xiaobao, who was accompanying him. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Baigo with a strange expression and then glanced at the other old men who were eating. He wrinkled his nose and did not say a word. Wang Wan held back her laughter and picked up a piece of soft fried pork fillet for Baigo. She said sweetly, Grandpa Bai, we usually eat the dishes made by the restaurant and feel that the taste is not bad. When the chefs of the restaurant see that we need to eat, they will specially adjust the ingredients. I don't feel that the food lacks the feeling of home. Xiao Bao, you explain. Look, you have made the grandpas misunderstand. Don't just sit there like a fool. It's good to make a toast. How can you let the grandpas nitpick? Zhang Xiaobao did as he was told and raised his glass to toast everyone. He didn't say anything, but just tilted his head back and downed the entire glass of wine. He smacked his lips and said, It's a pity that the wine we brought out today is of a good vintage. I drank a lot of it in 1 gulp. My brother and sister have been thinking about it for a long time, but haven't been able to drink to their heart's content. Xiao Bao, don't play dumb. Zhang Xiaobao and the others only drink a small cup of wine occasionally. Can you bear to let them drink freely? Bai Shu saw that Zhang Xiaobao was changing the topic, so he immediately stopped him. Zhang Xiaobao took the wine that Wang Wan refilled, smiled, and said, The dishes that the cooks of the restaurant made today are not bad. The dishes that they usually make are not in line with the taste of home, because everyone has a different understanding of home. Therefore, the dishes they make are called common dishes, and most with the word fine in front. I believe you can taste today's dishes. They are all authentic East City flavors. In the past, when you were an official in the capital, you ate the most Beijing food. After that, I went to Sanshui County to retire, so the taste changed slightly. Today, I asked someone to make a special Beijing flavor. Furthermore, the main problem is that I'm a regional commander, not a professional chef. Even if I'm a chef, I won't be able to cook all the dishes in the restaurant. So you admit that you didn't cook, right? Bai Shu grasped the crux of the problem. Well, Grandpa Bai, if you have any other requests, just say it. I will not refuse if I can help. What do you think? Zhang Xiaobao simply did not beat around the bush. Bai Shu reached out his chopsticks to pick up the food on the plate and put in his mouth to chew. After a while, he said to Yao Chong next to him with a smile, "UNG, try this fried pork belly. It really tastes like Changdong City." I remember that 10 or 8 years ago, eating the internal organs of animals became popular in the capital. In the past, people didn't eat it because they thought it was dirty. Later, it became, I remember when Long Zhe mentioned it. At that time, it was Xiao Bao's family who released many recipes for making internal organs. Everyone didn't want to waste them. Later, people everywhere started to eat them. Don't underestimate the internal organs of animals. I don't know how many are thrown away every day. There are people who can't eat meat. After eating intestines and livers, their stomachs have more oil and water. Their health is better, and their food consumption is also less. The Zhang family and the Wang family contributed a great merit. Yao Chong echoed. After he finished speaking, he raised his cup to Zhang Xiaobao as a sign of praise. So the old men at the table praised Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan one after another. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other and suddenly felt that the situation was not good. There must be a reason for the old men to be so polite. They didn't know what they wanted the two of them to do. Grandpa Bai, in fact, we haven't done enough. The Tang Empire is the Tang Empire's Tang Empire. Everyone is doing what they can. That's why our Tang Empire is flourishing like spring. We don't dare to claim credit. Wang Wan immediately became modest. If possible, she even wanted to pull Zhang Xiaobao and quickly leave here. It wasn't that this group of old men was bad, but that they definitely had something to trouble the two of them with. Otherwise, why would they use such methods? These old demons had already cultivated to the point where they didn't need to use their eyes to communicate smoothly. As soon as Wang Wan finished speaking, Yao Chong immediately said, "Whose contributions can't be denied. A few days ago, when we asked about Xiao Bei and the others, you said they were in Winshan County. Why haven't they returned yet? I think they did a lot of good things in Winshan. When they see them, they should properly show off their contributions. UNG is right. We should help them show off their contributions. After not seeing them for so many days, I've been missing them." An old man next to Biga chimed in. Zhang Xiaobao glanced at him and thought, "You've only seen Xiao Bei and the others once. How can you think of them? You're amazing if you can remember what they look like." Cursing in his heart, Zhang Xiaobao said, when they came back, they took a detour, intending to help investigate the cement market elsewhere. In the end, when they ran to Maozhou's Tunghua County, they were delayed by some matters. They needed to clearly investigate the local situation before returning. Because the various grandfathers had to go to other prefectures to oversee matters, they won't be able to see them in the short term. It's a pity. As they spoke, the people at the other tables, whether it was the old men or the juniors they had brought, all stopped what they were doing and began to pay attention. Those who weren't on the same floor didn't know about this matter and continued to eat and drink. Of course, since they weren't arranged to be on the same floor or had entered a private room elsewhere instead of gathering in the hall to eat, it could be assumed that their status in the family wasn't very high. The most important people were all gathered around Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. At present, the juniors in the hall weren't very old. The younger ones were 15 or 16 years old, and the older ones were just over 30 years old. It could be assumed that those who were too old either had important positions or weren't suitable for the family's nurturing. Those who were too young were still insensible. When the group of juniors ate, they didn't pay attention to the wine and food at all. All of their ears were focused on Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's table. There were two people in their 30s sitting at the table closest to the main table. When they heard the old men talking to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, they looked at each other in surprise and were deeply shocked. They were from the same family. Before they came, the elders in the family had repeated countless times that when they came, they had to be as modest as possible, as respectful as possible. No matter what they saw, no matter what they heard, they weren't allowed to casually interrupt. No matter what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did, they weren't allowed to laugh at anything they said because they didn't have the qualifications to do so. Moreover, even if what Xiaobao and Cuckoo said seemed childish to you, there must be a reason. Not only must you not look down on them, you must carefully ponder why they did what they did. A person who commanded a magnificent army and thousands of horses to contend with and kill the enemy. A person who came up with a plan to destroy the foundation of others. How could he be childish? The two of them recalled the words of the elders when they came, and now they couldn't understand. What was being said at the table was clearly ordinary family talk, but why did they feel as if they were facing a perilous situation? The other juniors had also sensed the different atmosphere amidst the soft voices. They seriously watched and carefully listened, their minds endlessly pondering. The people at the main table didn't seem to notice the fierce collision in front of them. The old men were still praising Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, as well as Xiao Bei and the other 9. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were constantly modest, even telling interesting stories, making the old men laugh heartily. Xiao Bao, the county magistrate Wang Chong that you just said Xiao Bei and the others encountered in Wenshan was truly an interesting person. He didn't do the work of the yamen, but instead ran over to the tavern to help out, all for the sake of letting his old mother eat well. Filial piety, incompetence, dereliction of duty. Using the small righteousness of filial piety to implicate the great righteousness of thousands of common people. You can't do it. You can't do it. Right? Just now, when Zhang Xiaobao talked about the matter of his younger brother and sister in Wenshan, the old men were deeply moved. So Baigo summed it up. Zhang Xiaobao's eyes turned, first sweeping over the faces of the old men near him, then looking at the juniors of the old men at the other tables. He took a deep breath and then sighed heavily. The juniors were even more curious. What was going on? Why did Zhang Xiaobao look so helpless? Wang Wan pursed her lips and smiled. She said to Baigo, "Grandpa Bai, you don't have to worry about righteousness. It's fine as long as you handle it well. You can leave for various places this afternoon, and we just happen to be going to Idyll Prefecture. If there's someone on the way, he can be a companion. What do you think? Only those on the way can be a companion?" Baigo was obviously not satisfied with Wang Wan's selective compromise, so he continued to ask. Yao Chong said, Cuckoo said it was handled well. It was also Xiao Bei and the others' work. But I can't bear it. Xiao Bei and the others are still young and are at the age to play. But they were born in a family like yours, so they have to work early. It's really hard for them. Yes, I know. Zhang Xiaobao had just agreed to Yao Chong's words, but he immediately changed his mind. In fact, it doesn't matter. If they want to do it, they can do it. If they don't want to do it, they can't do it. We don't care. As their older brother, my attitude towards them is not to encourage, oppose, support, or hinder them. I won't make any special arrangements for them. They have their own money. If they do something wrong, as long as it doesn't hurt others, they can use money to make up for it. What do you think? I think it's wrong. Seeing that Xiao Bao in front of him was more evasive than Cuckoo just now, Baigo widened his eyes. Cuckoo just compromised a little bit, but Xiao Bao immediately rejected it. How could this be? So he continued, Xiao Bao, let's be frank today. You have the nerve to say that you didn't help your younger brother and his sister? Look at the stories you made with the knowledge in elementary school. Now they have been published and distributed all over the Tang Empire. Take a look at what you usually tell them. You tell them the tips and points of administration and economy as fun things to play with. Once they are not around, you send the most capable assistants of you and Cuckoo to follow them. Do you dare to say that you don't support them? Zhang Xiaobao nodded embarrassedly. Okay. How many people? Cuckoo, and I will test them. Then we will arrange positions to train and guide them according to their different personalities and abilities. But let's make it clear first. After the war, we will not continue to take care of them. We will not take care of them. Baigo raised his arm and drew a circle. We will take care of our juniors in this hall. We will take care of the juniors in the other rooms and halls. Okay, I will go all out. Zhang Xiaobao raised his cup. Let's eat. Let's talk about today's food. It's really comfortable. It's not about the quality of the food. It's mainly because when I see Xiaobao and Cuckoo, my mood is inexplicably better. Oh, this pork shoulder is fat, but not greasy. Try it, try it. Baigo clinked his cup with Zhang Xiaobao, drank a mouthful of wine, and ate happily. The other old men also began to taste the delicacies carefully. The juniors in the hall widened their eyes and opened their mouths slightly. They were all surprised. Feeling the joyful atmosphere in the hall, they couldn't suppress the excitement in their hearts. At this moment, they finally understood why they felt so nervous before. It turned out that the elders were really having a confrontation with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. The two of them acted respectfully as if they were juniors, but they refused to admit anything until the elders were forced to the brink of death. Only then did they speak frankly. It was really a great skill. If they didn't speak frankly, the two of them wouldn't go along with it. But if they spoke frankly, the other party would immediately agree and give them face. However, they owed the old men a favor. If they beat around the bush, even if they owed them a favor, they would return it in a roundabout way in the future. But now, if Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan needed the old men to return a favor, they would ask directly. They couldn't refuse, even if they wanted to. After thinking about this, they began to think about what kind of work Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would arrange for them. It shouldn't be bad and could be used to train them. The old men couldn't be easily dealt with when they asked for help. Zhang Xiaobao ate a few mouthfuls of food. Wang Wan beside him nudged him. He turned his head and winked at Wang Wan. The two of them smiled knowingly. Everything was understood without words. Their communication was inadvertently discovered by Baigo and Yao Chong. They looked at each other and suddenly felt that something was wrong. The previous sense of achievement disappeared in an instant. They looked like they had succeeded in scheming against others, but suddenly regretted that they had been schemed against. Chapter 1201. Early the next morning, the large group of people in Idyll City began to move out. The old men each chose a place to stay. After leaving the border of Idyll, they watched Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan make arrangements for their important children before they left. As for Idyll, there was no need for others to stay there. The local people in charge of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would do it well. The children who had eaten in the same hall yesterday were now following Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan on both sides of the carriage. Each of them was holding a few pages of paper with words on them. They needed to answer the questions. A few thin pages of paper weighed almost 1,000 kilograms to them. After they finished answering, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would make arrangements based on their answers, including where to go or stay. They were nervous. Yesterday, they were not qualified to eat on the same floor. Yesterday, the other children on the same floor were envious of them. Because of the limited resources of the family and different parents at birth, each person's performance in front of the elders was different. Naturally, the cultivation they could receive was different. This was the origin of people's grades. Grandfather, I don't accept this. When the group was moving, a child rushed to the side of an open mule carriage and shouted to an old man on the carriage. The old man frowned and glared at him coldly. He scolded, "Go back to the group." "No, I don't accept this. I have always been the best at school and the family. In the end, you didn't let me enter the Imperial College and sent the second brother of the first branch there. Last autumn, when the students of the Imperial College held a poetry competition in the Hibiscus Garden, I also participated in the competition. My poem and word beat the top 3 students of the Imperial College. You still don't care about me. Is it because I'm a concubine's son? Is it because my mother is a concubine?" The person who came to question gathered his courage and shouted loudly. Perhaps he knew that this was the last chance. "Go back, or you will be expelled from the family." The old man was unmoved. You're Grandpa Sue's younger brother, right? Come here, come here. Let me ask you. Just when the boy didn't know how to choose, Wang Wan's voice came from Zhang Xiaobao's carriage in front. Hurry up. Nearby, Bai Go urged. Grandfather? The kid looked at his grandfather. Well, answer me properly. Otherwise, you'll be punished for both crimes. The old man wasn't stupid enough to stop his grandson's one chance. He temporarily suppressed the dissatisfaction in his heart from just now. When the kid ran over, Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao had already gotten off the car. The whole team stopped moving at the same time. Come to sister. Tell sister, how old is our Long this year? Wang Wan smiled as she looked at the young man who rushed over. She called him Long. He was the grandson of Su Jian from Jixing Courtyard. Su Jian did not retire, but he had nothing to do usually. He was a secondary class rank 2 official, Guang Le Grand Doctor. Su Yilong did not dare to look at Wang Wan directly, mainly because Wang Wan was too beautiful and had a special status. Say something, little brother Yilong. How can you give a girl's name? Wang Wan continued. No, it's to let me always be like a jade, with a clear voice and a good appearance. It's also better to break my body than to be dishonored. That's why I'm called Yilong. You, how did you know my name is Su Yilong? Su Yilong lowered her head and explained. Then, she asked curiously. I guessed. I was sitting in the car and heard a voice. I guessed it had such a nice voice. Ah, it's Grandpa Su's precious grandson, Yilong. How old are you this year? Wang Wan was still talking like she was coaxing a child. Su Yilong shook her body discontentedly. I'm going to be 15 soon. I'm not a child. Yes. Our Yilong is an adult. Can you let me ask you a few questions? Wang Wan smiled and said softly. Su Yilong lowered her head. Okay. The people around them all focused on them, wanting to see what Xiao Bao would ask. Zhang Xiaobao stepped forward a few steps, reached out and patted Su Yilong's head, and asked, the first question, you said that there must be someone to learn from. Choose the good one and change, and follow the bad one. What does that mean? Others were stunned after hearing it. Su Yilong was also confused and said cautiously, you asked the wrong question. It means to choose the good one and follow it. It doesn't mean, answer the question. Zhang Xiaobao interrupted Su Yilong's correction. I don't know. Su Yilong had never encountered such a question. It was obviously the wrong question, but she still needed to answer according to the wrong answer. What was she supposed to answer? Zhang Xiaobao shook his head disappointedly and said, you need to use your brain. Okay, I'll answer the first question for you. It means that this is the way of being an official. When 3 people walk together, there must be one who can learn from me. When 3 people walk together, they must all have the idea that I can be their teacher. As for me, as their teacher, I have to choose what is good and correct. In other words, I have to correct what they say. Otherwise, how can I show my ability? Follow the bad one, which means that they did something wrong, but I forgive them, which shows my generosity. This is the way of being an official. If you want to be an official, you should work together. Su Yilong opened her mouth wide and was not nervous. She was not intimidated by Wang Wan's beauty. Her whole person was in a state of shock. You don't believe it, right? If you don't believe it, ask your grandfather. Go. Zhang Xiaobao motioned Su Yilong to go back to his grandfather Su Jian and ask. Su Yilong did not go back, but turned her head. Listen to your brother Xiao Bao and answer with your heart. Su Jian did not say whether it was right or wrong, but let his grandson continue to answer the question. This showed that he had acquiesced to Zhang Xiaobao's words. The other old men sighed almost at the same time. Being an official was like this. If you want to have a foothold in the imperial court, you have to be shameless. How many people can be like Zhang Zhong and treat the minister as free and easy? Only because his son was Xiao Bao. So no one dared to oppose what Zhang Zhong did, and no one dared to stab him in the back. Otherwise, they would have to face the overwhelming attacks of Zhang Xiaobao. The Minister of Revenue, Wang Qi, and the rest could be used as a comparison. Zhang Xiaobao did not care what others thought and continued to say to Su Yilong, do you want to continue to answer? Su Yilong nodded, took a deep breath, and made himself nervous. Well, let me ask you, there must be someone to learn from when three people walk together. What does it mean to choose the good one and follow the bad one? Zhang Xiaobao asked again. Su Yilong was still confused after hearing it, but he did not dare to say that the other party had asked the wrong question. His two hands clasped together and kept twisting with each other, thinking hard in his heart. Others were also thinking about the question Zhang Xiaobao asked. What did it mean? What was going on? After a while, Su Yilong replied dejectedly, I don't know. It means that this is the way of business. When a businessman sees people, 70% smiles and 30% is kindness. That is to say, to treat everyone who spends money to buy your things, or who may spend money to buy your things in the future, you have to respect them like you respect a teacher and make them feel comfortable. Then, no matter whether the other party is right or wrong, you have to obey or they will not buy your things. Of course, this obedience is learned. Obedience is not the same as flattery. Zhang Xiaobao explained again. I see. Su Yilong nodded. Well, let me ask you the third question. What does it mean to choose the good one and follow the bad one? Zhang Xiaobao gestured for Su Yilong to answer. When others heard it, they felt that Su Yilong was lucky. Zhang Xiaobao finally asked a normal question, as long as he answered according to what he learned. Su Yilong was even more nervous. He had always been smart. Through the two questions just now, he found that he could not answer according to common sense. Otherwise, Zhang Xiaobao would be disappointed. Then he would have no chance and would go back to accept the family punishment. After thinking about it, Su Yilong plucked up his courage and answered, It means that when three people walk together, there must be something that I can be their teacher. That is to say, everyone has shortcomings. As for me, when I see what they do well, I will praise them. When I see what they do not do well, I will help them change it. Very good. I am very satisfied with your answer to the third question. Let me ask you again. What does heaven's blessing, silent and odorless mean? Zhang Xiaobao then asked another question. Other than those who were too young, everyone knew that Zhang Xiaobao was asking about the Book of Songs, and the meaning was equally clear. It was saying that when heaven did things, there was no sound and no taste. Unknowingly, in some sense, it could be compared to Shangshan Ruashe. But they knew that when Zhang Xiaobao asked, it was obviously not the answer he wanted. Su Yilong thought about it for a quarter of an hour, raised his head and said, Heaven is born from thunder and rain. The father is the son's heaven. The husband is the wife's heaven. The official is the people's heaven. The monarch is the subject's heaven. What you mean is that when we are in charge of things, even if we do something wrong, we will not allow the people below to express any dissatisfaction. With a pa sound, Zhang Xiaobao's hand patted Su Yilong's shoulder and pressed down hard. He said happily, Great, the answer is great. So, when we get out and encounter a fork in the road, I will let someone arrange for you to go to Tunghua County in Maozhou. Xiao Bei and the others are there. You can go and play with them. They have all kinds of people around them. Let's see how much you can learn. Su Yilong did not show a happy expression. He originally planned to let Zhang Xiaobao arrange a good thing for him to do. Why did he run to play with children? Why don't you thank Brother Xiaobao? Stupid. Su Yilong's grandfather, Su Jian, was happy instead. His eyebrows flew to both sides as he shouted at his ignorant grandson. Yes, yes, thank you, Brother Xiaobao. Su Yilong had to obediently thank him. And Big Sister, we have to thank Big Sister too. Wang Wan also wanted to thank her. Su Yilong's face turned red. He lowered his head and said in a mosquito-like voice, Thank you, sister. Let's go back. Let's hurry. Wang Wan finished and pulled Zhang Xiaobao to the car. The team continued to move forward. Su Yilong wanted to go to the team that just came, but was immediately called by his grandfather. Yilong, you are considered to be successful in the future. Work hard yourself. If there is a need, the family can provide resources. After all, you gave up a place. I originally planned to arrange it for you when you were 15 years old. Now it's not necessary. I can arrange other people in the family in your original position. In this case, other resources can be tilted to you. Su Jian finally said to his grandson what was in his heart. As a scholar of Jixin Courtyard, How could he not train the children in the family? It was just that there must be a sequence. If possible, how could he not arrange all the children in the family? But during the fight, during the meal yesterday, he did not even care about his face. He owed a big favor and pushed the first child in the family to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. If he wanted to arrange other people, his face was worthless. How could it be easy to return the favor of Zhang Xiao Bao and Wang family? If he asked for more, what would he use to return it? Chapter 1202. Su Jian was satisfied that his grandson was valued by Xiao Bao and encouraged him. However, Su Yilong was not satisfied. He said to his grandfather with a wronged expression, "Grandfather, I don't want to play with the children. I want to be like my brothers and do proper work. My stupid grandson, if you can change someone, you can tell your thoughts to the other grandpas. See what kind of exchange they will make for you for a place. But who dares to change the person chosen by Xiao Bao? If you can change, I will change you with your brother first." Su Jian was not afraid that his grandson would be unhappy. The meaning of his words was clear. His position was better than his brother's position. He had already planned to change, but because it was the person chosen by Xiao Bao, he could not change and let him continue to benefit. Su Yilong understood, but he still had emotions in his heart. "Grandfather, I want to follow a group of children. I want to learn skills and not worry." "Shut up." Su Jian was angry when he saw his grandson like this. It was not over yet. "Brother Yuangu, the child is young and not sensible. You need to teach him slowly." Vai Go persuaded. "Brother Yuangu, it's not that I want to be angry, but you see, this child said that Xiao Bei's 9 children are not good. Even if there is one of the 9 children, I will have no regrets in my life, not to mention Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. My grandson is a pile of mud that can't help the wall." Alas! Su Jian raised his hand as he spoke. He hated that he could not beat his grandson to death. He said to his grandson with a tone of disappointment, "You don't want to accompany Xiao Bei, but there are others who want to. Do you know who accompanied them in the past? First Prince Li Jun, First Princess Li Panair. If there is no benefit to being with them, why would His Majesty arrange for his 2 children to be with them? This is so infuriating. I heard that the Empress is afraid of martial arts." A slap finally fell on Su Yilong's head. "If you talk nonsense again, I will beat you to death, you unfilial thing." Su Jian was shocked. He dared to say anything. Did he not want to live? "I know you're not convinced and think that they are young. Are you an adult? If it was Xiao Bei who met you today, he definitely wouldn't be so nervous that he would tremble. You were so scared when you saw Xiao Bao and Cuckoo talking to them. You'll be scared to death in front of Her Majesty. Do you dare to snatch food from Her Majesty when she's eating with Her Majesty?" Su Jian reprimanded him as an example, and then said, "Even I don't dare. She's young, so His Majesty won't stoop to her level." Su Yilong muttered. "Xiao Yuan is also young. Do you dare to compare knowledge with him?" Vai Go laughed and asked, "Why wouldn't I dare?" saying that the University of the Mean is bullying him. "If we only talk about the Analects of Confucius, I'll let him go 2 miles away." Su Yilong puffed out her chest and replied, "Bah!" Su Jian made a spitting motion. The surrounding old men laughed out loud, and Su Yilong was at a loss of what to do. Su Jian couldn't help but laugh a little. He said to his grandson, "Xiao Yuan is different from ordinary people. He has a photographic memory. His understanding may be slightly lacking, but when it comes to memorizing books, even 100 of you tied up together wouldn't know as much as him." "Rumors. It's all rumors. I don't believe it." Su Yilong insisted. Vai Go thought about it at the side and asked Su Yilong, "Ask a question. Say that there are 2 kinds of candies. One is red and one is blue. Red candies cost 5 coins per box, and blue candies cost 3 coins per box. You bought a total of 9 boxes and spent a total of 33 coins. Ask, how many boxes of blue and red did you buy?" Su Yilong frowned after hearing it. She thought about it again and again. She cracked her fingers a few times. Finally, she shook her head and said to Vai Go, "Grandpa Bai's question is too difficult. I will be able to answer it in 2 years. You don't need to wait for 2 years. After you go out, you can go to Tonghua and find Xiaohai. Xiaohai will tell you. Yao Cheng understood Bai Go's meaning and helped to say, I don't believe it. Su Yilong said in surprise. Why don't you believe it? This thing is called the two-dimensional quadratic equation in Zhangguo and Wang family. Xiaohai didn't like to calculate it 2 years ago. If you ask him this question, he will be very angry and feel that it's too childish. Su Jian shook his head and said, Yilong, Grandpa wants you to help me again. Bai Go said again, now the map of Pengzhou Pass is lost. Can you help to draw the outline of the mountains and rivers within 50 miles? Su Yilong shook her head. I can't draw it. You go to Xiaozhu and tell her that you want to have a look. She will draw it for you. It's very important. I believe that she will remember it. Also, you can ask her about the framework of our dynasty's prefectures. Yao Cheng continued to cooperate. Su Yilong didn't say that she didn't believe it this time. She just felt that it was too difficult to do it. She decided to go and have a look. If she felt that it was not good, she would find a way to come back. Go back to your team. Su Jian didn't want to talk to Su Yilong anymore and waved his hand. Su Yilong's problem was solved, but the other people who were selected yesterday had not answered the questions on the paper. The questions on the paper were very difficult to answer. When the team was moving, Su Yilong's second brother came. He found Su Jian and walked beside him. He hesitated for a while and bravely said, Grandpa, what do you think Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan are going to do? Su Jian turned his head to look at his grandson and didn't say anything, waiting for him to continue. Su Yilong's second brother straightened the paper in his hand and then read, Ask, why do we see the lightning first and hear the sound later when it thunders? Grandpa, is it because the lightning is faster than the sound? Yes. Su Jian nodded. Now everyone can learn basic nature and physics. But after I told the answer to the person who followed me, he tore the place where the paper was stuck. The answer that was revealed was because the eyes grow in front of the ears. Su Yilong's second brother gritted his teeth and said, Su Jian was stunned. Read another question that you haven't torn open the answer to. Yes, it said that there are two kinds of beans, red and green. Put them in the pot and fry them. When they are done, the red beans and green beans are immediately separated. Ask why. Su Yilong's second brother read another question. Su Jian leaned his head to the back. Wei Wei looked up at the sky and pondered. The few old men next to her also narrowed their eyes and pondered. After a quarter of an hour, Su Jian said, This question involves basic science. The color of the red beans and the green beans is not important. The important thing is the previous processing. Soak a kind of bean with the powder of a magnet and water, then slightly stick together. When the frying is done, put a magnet on the side under the pot, and the previously processed beans are attracted. Yes, this question is not simple. It is indeed Xiao Bao and Cuckoo who came up with it. I see. Su Yilong's second brother was enlightened. He happily waved to the person who was in charge of receiving the answer and waited for him to come closer. He told his grandpa's words and then waited with his chest puffed out. The person who was called bit his lip. The expression on his face seemed to be very painful as he tore the paper that was stuck with the answer bit by bit. He turned around and left in the blink of an eye. Su Yilong's second brother looked down and also showed a painful expression on his face. How is it? Su Jian asked. 2 beans. Su Yilong's second brother raised his hand and covered his face. Ha ha. Bai Go laughed heartily. He laughed so hard that he almost couldn't catch his breath. The other old men also laughed in different postures. After laughing for a while, Bai Go held his stomach and said with difficulty, Brother Yuan Gu is amazing. You are right. This question is not simple. It is indeed Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's child. I really can't. My stomach hurts. It hurts. Laugh, laugh, laugh until my intestines are broken. Su Jian's face was gloomy, and he shouted at his grandson, In the future, don't bring a question in front of me if you don't have a serious question. Go to the front and answer your question. I am sleepy. After that, Su Jian closed his eyes. Su Yilong's second brother had to take the paper and continue to be tortured in front. The old men began to be interested in the questions given by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. They asked a few people to take a look and found that there were not only such funny questions, but also other strange questions. For example, there's a person in the east and west of the city. One day, they will meet at the foot of the mountain in the east of the city at noon to climb the mountain. There is a river in the city. That day, the water level rises. You're the person in the west of the city. When you meet the river, you will stop. If you take a detour to cross the bridge, you will arrive 3 minutes late. If you wait for a boat, you will arrive 4 minutes late. Ask, which one do you choose? For example, you are in charge of purchasing meat in the courtyard of an abandoned child. You buy meat one day. Shangguan Yin is a relative of the butcher, surnamed Zhang, in the west of the city. When you arrive at the west of the city, you see that the meat of the butcher, surnamed Zhang, is different, but the price is the same. Ask, whose meat do you want to buy? For example, one day, you're paddling in the lake. Suddenly, you hear 2 people falling into the water. You can only save one. One is your son, and the other is 6 students. Ask, which one do you want to save? When these questions were asked, some of them made people keep thinking. Some of them were difficult to choose. Every choice must be made through the heart. Why do you ask this question? I am worried. Why don't you ask some questions? Why do you make it difficult for people? No, I have to ask them. After reading the questions, Baigo jumped out of the small car and ran a few steps forward. He came to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's car and knocked on the door. Stop the car. Zhang Xiaobao ordered the car to stop. When he opened the door and saw Baigo, he let him in. When the car started moving again, he asked with concern, Grandpa Bai, are you feeling unwell? Or are you bored? If it is the former, I will find someone to take a look at you. If it is the latter, you and I can play a game of chess. I'm not feeling well. Baigo took the tea from Wang Wan and said with a gloomy face, Oh, why don't you tell me so I can help you out? Zhang Xiaobao asked tentatively. Here, Baigo put a roll of paper on the small table in front of him. You can help me. Look at the questions you gave. They are a mess. If there's a chance, I want to throw you into the river. Throw me. I'm good at swimming. If it was Xiao Bei, I wouldn't be worried even if you tied his hands and feet and threw him into the river. Zhang Xiaobao agreed with a smile. Wang Wan put 2 plates of desserts in front of Baigo and comforted him. It is just a question. Some of the questions make people feel uncomfortable, which shows that they are still human. Grandpa Bai, do you remember when we were fighting Tubo? Xiaobao and I were in charge of logistics. We followed the troops to Pengzhou's pass with the supplies. There, we planned to provide an endless supply of supplies to the front line. Later, because the news was not as good as now, Her Majesty sent us an imperial edict, telling us to go out and help. However, the actual situation was that when the imperial edict was sent, the front line was in a tight situation. How could we get any merits when we went out? Grandpa Bai, do you know why? At that time, you were accompanying my father-in-law, Grandpa Yao, and Grandpa Lu in Pengzhou. At that time, the leading general was Guotu, right? Baigo listened. When Wang Wan finished speaking, he sighed, Yes, Guotu's day. Because he didn't kill the Tubo people in the village, countless brave soldiers of our dynasty died. Later, we were trapped. If you guys didn't go, our dynasty's border would be in danger. At that time, you guys, Grandpa Bai, we don't need to talk about our matters. Let's talk about Guotu's day. If we gave him a test like today, before the battle, when the test results were out, as long as he answered sincerely, we definitely wouldn't send him out again. Wang Wan explained. I see. I will go and tell them. Baigo understood. He didn't let the carriage stop and directly jumped out. After he left, Wang Wan and Baigo let out a long breath. We dealt with it. Zhang Xiaobao said. Wang Wan sat there for a while. Then she asked Zhang Xiaobao, Hubby, let me ask you a question. For example, one day, I almost forgot something important. Why didn't I think of it just now? Wait for me. I will be back soon. Zhang Xiaobao didn't wait for Wang Wan to finish her question. He slapped both sides of the seat and jumped out of the window without even opening the door. He left behind a stunned Wang Wan and the curtains swaying in the wind. Chapter 1203. 5 days passed quickly and slowly as some people were embarrassed, some people were excited, and some people were depressed. The juniors who were pushed to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan by the old men were tormented by the two of them until they were dumbfounded. In addition to the questions on the paper that needed to be answered at the beginning, it was followed by the interview. Because what they were doing was relatively important, Zhang Xiaobao wanted to train them to be thick-skinned. They were not qualified to be spat on by themselves. They had to be at the level where they would immediately pester others after being spat on in the face and say in a coquettish tone, "Good man, don't bully me like this. I'll change, okay?" Wang Wan did not know whether the people who were spat on were disgusting or not, but when she listened to Zhang Xiaobao telling others about it, she felt disgusted first and hid 5 miles away. Every time she thought about it, she would have goosebumps all over her body and couldn't stop shivering. Remember this. Why did I choose you to do this? It's not because you're good-looking. If I want good-looking girls, I'll find a group of male prostitutes who are more charming than you. It's also not because you're knowledgeable. If I want to find someone knowledgeable, I'll just pick the people from Jinjia Academy. The purpose of looking for you is because of your identity. There's a position for anyone's grandson or son. You didn't jump out of a crack in a rock, right? What's the use of identity? Record who you are? No, that's a household registration. After 2 years, when the conditions are met, I'll make an identity card for the people of Tang, but it's definitely not equivalent to identity. Zhang Xiaobao was now standing in a hall. There was a blackboard on one side of the wall. He was giving a lecture to the juniors of the old men in the hall that day. For the sake of their future, the students who were listening to the lecture were enduring what ordinary people would not be able to endure. If the person standing in front of them was not Zhang Xiaobao, they would have long since attacked him and let him experience the power of the various families' disciples. I'm not telling you all this because I want you to be shameless. For example, if someone spits on you, you don't have to endure it. If anyone dares to do that, you just have to hit them back with all your might. I'm just giving an example. Otherwise, if I really get spat on, I'll feel uncomfortable too. You all saw it. My assistant ran away because of the disgust. I guess I can only stay in my room alone tonight. Zhang Xiaobao made a sleeping pose, and the students burst into laughter. Zhang Xiaobao continued, "The various tasks assigned to you are very important. For example, receiving and comforting people. When the person transporting the supplies is tired, you can go over and say to him, 'You've worked hard.' 'Who is my father? Who is my grandfather?' I'm with you. I've seen what you've done and will tell my father and grandfather." For example, if someone has a bad temper and wants to cause trouble, you can go over and say, "Who is my father? Who is my grandfather? If you dare to cause trouble, I'll get someone to teach you a lesson." There are also people who use their family status to search for talents. Take me, for example. I found a person who was following a convoy. When his convoy broke down, he immediately fixed it. Furthermore, he did it very quickly and firmly. So I went over and told him that my father is the Minister of Revenue. I don't think I need to say my father. I could just say who I am, right? The students laughed and nodded. In any case, that's what I mean. Use your family status and the knowledge you possess to help everyone who needs our help. This is a unique advantage that no one can replace. If you don't use it, that would be a crime. Zhang Xiaobao patiently and stubbornly continued. When he felt that the students were more or less brainwashed, he clenched his fist and waved it vigorously. In any case, everything is for Great Tang. Everything is for dignity. Everything is for the people of other countries who are still suffering. Playing with economics, you can't do it. Using the attitude of a gentleman to help others, I can't do it. Whether or not Great Tang can win this war smoothly, whether or not it can make our dynasty more stable, I'll leave it to you. Let's advance together." After saying that, Zhang Xiaobao bowed 90 degrees. Amid the hubbub, the students also stood up and bowed in unison. "Let's advance together." Zhang Xiaobao straightened his back and didn't say anything else. Puffing out his chest, he walked out with the posture of a soldier. Not long after he left, Wang Wan, who had returned at some point, suddenly jumped to his side and questioned, "Tell me, have you ever organized a pyramid scheme before?" Let me say this first. I'm staying by myself today. Just thinking about what you said before makes me feel disgusted. Pyramid scheme? What is that? Definitely not. What I play with is the most basic capital operation in finance. It is to gather all the wealth in the world and do all the things in the world. You have to know that money will depreciate if it is placed in the bank. Its interest can't keep up with the speed of inflation. Why is that? Because the money in the bank is loaned out. Some people use this money to operate. And what do I need to do? It is to prevent you from being cheated by placing your money in the bank. Hand it to me and we will operate it directly. What is the benefit of this? Some people will say, then why don't you just go to the bank? Why do you want to go to us? This is a good question. Can't we go to the bank? That's for sure. Absolutely. But I am worried that if the bank's money is handed to us, the bank will gain a lot of benefits from it. This is the problem of the ratio between what we get and what you get and what you get and what you get with the bank. After our professional team's calculation, if you hand the money to us, we will get more money than if you put it in the bank and then go to the bank to get more money. So I'm telling you today that the biggest financial cheats in the world are the banks. The banks are financial scoundrels, financial hooligans, and financial bandits. Cooperating with the banks is definitely asking a tiger for its skin. Cooperating with us is a win-win situation. You and I don't need to beat the banks. We just need to make the profit of our money grow faster than the speed of social inflation. Well, that's all for today. Go back and ask the people in the bank if this is the case. If you believe in your own judgment and your own choice, you can look for our professional investment consultants. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Goodbye. Zhang Xiaobao said a lot, took out a piece of paper, wrote something, and gave it to Wang Wan. Then, he waved his hand and left. Wang Wan was stunned and thought for a while. She gritted her teeth and muttered, I knew you couldn't run away. Oomph. Luckily I came to Tang with you. Otherwise, it's hard to say what the bank's surname is. What year and where did you deceive me? Why are there no records? No, I have to ask carefully tonight. Xiaobao, what did you say to Cuckoo at the door? She looked like she was going to bite you. Baigo just happened to walk over and saw the scene. That's right. Otherwise, I would be lonely at night. Learn from me, old man. Zhang Xiaobao said and walked away quickly. You said I'm old man? Stop right there. Baigo was anxious and chased after him. After 2 steps, he suddenly stopped. He lowered his head and thought for a while. Then, he turned around and ran in front of the students who came out of the house. He carefully asked what Xiaobao said. After asking, Baigo clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. How cunning. If I had chased after him, I wouldn't have been able to get anything out of him. After tricking the students, you tricked Cuckoo, and now you want to trick me? Small fry. Hey, Cuckoo, come, I have something to tell you. Grandpa, bye. I have something to tell you too. Come here. Wang Wan invited Baigo to walk for about 10 minutes. Then, she ran to the house next door to take out the tea set and pour tea for Baigo. Baigo drank a bowl and asked, What's the matter? Grandpa, bye. Xiaobao gave me a note before he left. He said that if you grandpas knew what he said, it would be easy for the students to be called back. So, he told me to stay at the door while he went to another intersection. If someone came, he could stop them. If they came from here, for example, he told me to take you away. Because at this time, all the students in your family have already gone to work. Even if you knew, you wouldn't know who went where. So, there's enough time. My mission is complete. Grandpa Bai, do you still want some snacks? Wang Wan explained to Baigo with an embarrassed expression. She even passed the note to him. Baigo, Maozhou's Tunghua County. Xiao Bei's group had not made any moves yet. Apart from them staying in the county city, the large group of people who had stayed outside and found a hidden place to set up camp. Shui Yun's family of 13 had also rushed over. After helping Xiao Bei's group of 9, they could also help the front line. The 9 children had already discussed. If necessary, Shui Yun would fly them up to the enemy's sky to record the enemy's military arrangements. After all, the adults were too heavy. It was very strenuous for Shui Yun to fly them, not to mention the other eagles. They couldn't even fly. The Chen family in the county was in a very tense atmosphere, especially Chun Yaozu. Last night, after the portraits of Xiao Bei and the others were sent over, he knew who he had met on the way back that day. Today, He had mustered up the courage to tell his father several times, but he was afraid that he would be beaten to death and sent to Xiao Bei and the others, so he held back. But just because he didn't say anything, it didn't mean that others wouldn't either. That day, his team had 600 people. Just now, the housekeeper who had followed him to scold Xiao Bei and the others that day knelt on the floor of the study and told Master Chen Guangho the whole story. The current master, Chen Guangho, had just finished asking carefully over and over again. Then he looked at the kneeling housekeeper and said coldly, "Good, good, good. With you accompanying the family outside, I was really relieved. I wasn't worried that you wouldn't be able to provoke powerful people. Now you've succeeded. You've finally gotten our whole family involved. Master, Master, I deserve to die. I really didn't know who they were at that time. It was the young master who took a fancy to that girl. I just helped to say a few words. If I had known, I wouldn't have dared to stop the team, even if you beat me to death." The housekeeper kowtowed hard and cried as he recounted. His forehead hit the limestone floor of the study with a thud. His forehead was first bruised and then bleeding. Chen Guangho sat there numbly. He didn't even look at the housekeeper, who was kowtowing. His eyes were unfocused. He wasn't afraid that his son had offended Xiao Bei and the others. Firstly, he didn't know who they were. Secondly, he didn't really do anything. At most, he would break their legs and send them over to take a look. He believed that Xiao Bei and the others wouldn't make things too difficult for his family because of this. He was afraid that the things he did in secret would be exposed. It wasn't important what goods were imported from the West. What was important was what was shipped out to be sold. While he was in a state of exhaustion and pondering, Chen Guangho heard the loudest sound. The housekeeper had knocked himself unconscious from kowtowing. His body fell sideways, and his tears and snot flowed onto the floor. "We can't just sit here and wait for death. Someone come, drag the housekeeper out and lock him up. Gather all the family members and go to the meeting hall." Chen Guangho mumbled weakly and ordered the people outside the study in a hoarse voice. Chapter 1204. The latest information, the latest information. It said that the most annoying Chun family in this county made a big move this afternoon. Xiao Bei excitedly said to the other 8 people sitting in a circle, "We heard it. Let's get down to business." Xiao Yuan timely stopped Xiao Bei from continuing to report. Xiao Bei didn't scold Xiao Yuan this time. He put his 2 small hands on the table and said, "The business is that we need to know what they want to do first." "What else?" "Of course, they want to find us. Almost everyone in the county has a copy of our portrait, who engraved our faces on boards and sold them everywhere. I don't object to their behavior. I'm angry that they didn't give us a share of the income." Xiaonan obviously valued the right of the portrait very much. When the portrait was sold and he didn't get a single cent, it would be a lie to say that he wasn't angry. The actual situation was as Xiaonan said. After the Chan family found out that the eldest son of the first branch had offended Xiao Bei and the others, they immediately began to discuss countermeasures. At first, they wanted to send someone to tell them to hide the goods elsewhere, but the eagles circling in the sky clearly told them that they were being watched. The 2 eagles, Shui Yun and Hong Wan, constantly told people who saw them that the Zhang family and Wang family were here. The red and white colors were too eye-catching. After the Chun family found out about this situation, they wanted to chase after the eagles to find Xiao Bei and the others, but it was obviously impossible. The only way left was to ask the people in the county to help. Chen Yaozu told them that Xiao Bei and the others wanted to enter the county that day. When they found them, they could contact Xiao Bei and the others while sending people to arrange other things. At that time, Xiao Bei and the others would let down their guard. Now, Xiao Bei and the others were thinking about when and where to take action. Because they didn't launch a large-scale intelligence contact and only sent people to inquire in the county, they didn't collect much information. It was a bit far-fetched to say that they were guilty. Can't we meet with them first? There's no evidence to prove that they did something wrong. It's better to alert the enemy than to suspect them. Xiao Bei wanted to take the initiative. Xiao Yuan had other considerations and said, let's leave first. Think about it. They asked the locals to find us. If they can't find us, won't they search every house? I don't want to meet them in this situation. I agree. Let's leave. Xiao Hai thought about it and supported Xiao Yuan. Then let's go. Xiao Bei immediately agreed when he heard his brother speak. At dusk that day, Xiao Bei and the other 9 people were once again sent out of the county through various disguises and transport vehicles. Less than an hour after they left, the Yamen runners and the servants of the Chun family started to go door to ask questions. When they asked about the shop on the neighboring street where Xiao Bei and the others had just stayed, there were only 2 local workers in this shop that had changed its business to selling steamed pancakes. When they found out about the house that had been bought, the Chun family finally found out that Zhang Xiao Bei and the others had been there and had stayed there for a period of time. Slap! Chun Guangho slapped his eldest son's face in front of everyone else in the clan's meeting hall. Relying on his family's wealth and connections with other local officials, he went out and caused trouble all day long. I've warned you time and time again, but you wouldn't listen. Now that you've brought a calamity upon yourself, I don't need to warn you anymore. The skin on Chun Guangho's face drooped as if it had lost all moisture. His eye sockets had also sunk in for a short period of time. After slapping his son, he fell back into his chair. Wei Wei opened her mouth as if she was at the end of her rope. Father, don't kill me. Give me to Xiao Bei and the others to vent their anger. Don't kill me. Chun Yaozu, who had been slapped, fell to his knees in front of his father and hugged his legs as he begged. Kill you? If killing you could solve the current situation, you would have been killed long ago. In the eyes of Zhang Xiao Bei and the others, you're just an ant. Didn't you see the eagle circling the sky during the day? Would the Shui Yun general be sent to deal with you? You think too highly of yourself. Chen Yaowei, one of the twins from the 3rd branch's Chun Guanghuan family, ridiculed. Clearly, at his age, he didn't know many things. He only heard it from his father, unless he could be nurtured like Xiao Bei and the others. A few days ago, the 2 brothers had been harshly scolded by the head of the family. Now, they finally had a chance to retaliate. Even when facing the survival of the family, they didn't forget to add insult to injury. I remember that first father said that we caused trouble that day. I didn't expect that the trouble we caused was still too small compared to first father's eldest brother. I admire you. I really admire you. This little brother has seen it. Chen Yaohong also criticized the 1st branch with his younger brother. All of you shut up. I'm not dead yet. The old man of the Chun family held the arms of the chair with both hands and shouted. The other people in the hall all looked at the old man, who usually didn't care about the family matters. They were all looking forward to the old man, hoping that he could help the family turn the tide. The old man's eyes were wide open, no longer squinting like before. The eyes that were exposed under his eyelids gave people a feeling that they were shining. Now, don't expect to apologize to Zhang Xiao Bei and the others. The more we apologize, the more guilty we will be. Just now, we sent people to investigate and received news that Zhang Xiao Bei and the others left not long ago. They didn't leave for many days and only left today. It means that they know about the map we sent in the county, so there's no need to look for them again. Old Man Chen looked back and forth at the younger generation in the family and said in a deep voice, Father, if we don't look for them, are we going to wait for them to come to us? It's better to immediately send people to other places in the dark to convey the family's orders. At least, we should first hide or dispose of a batch of goods. The 2nd branch's Chun Guangliang said the plan in his heart. Old Man Chen shook his head. It's too late. If you can think of it, others can also think of it. Anyone who leaves the county tonight will be watched. I don't believe that Xiao Bei and the others are so smart. Chun Guangliang insisted. Are the people around Xiao Bei just decorations? What's so scary about the 9 children? What's scary is their identity and the team that supports them. Old Man Chen looked at his 2nd son with dissatisfaction. Then what should we do? The Bitin Chen Yaozu said what everyone was thinking. Wait, continue to do business in the county. Take out the accounts of the past few years. Send out the servants who didn't participate in the family business. Remember to give enough money. those who participated in the family business stay, those who helped the younger generation in the family fight, and those who were responsible for transporting goods that shouldn't be transported stay together. Old Man Chen straightened his back and gave the order. Everyone else sucked in a breath of cold air, as if they couldn't believe that the old man would give such an order. Chen Yaodong of the second branch gritted his teeth and said, "Is there only one way? The people left in the family can't beat Xiao Bei and the others. Fight? What did I ever want to fight? I'm waiting for them to come and directly hand over the accounts to them. I'll let them do whatever they want. If I die, I'll die. I just want them to leave a line of descendants for my Chen family." Old Man Chen's words disappointed the rest of the family. They thought that there would be a good way, but in the end, it was to be captured without a fight. Chen Yaozu was stunned and then burst into tears. "If I had known, I wouldn't have provoked them when I came back that day. Or if I didn't come back, there wouldn't be such a thing in the family." Whoa. Except for the old man of the Chen family, everyone else stared at the crying Chen Yaozu with resentful eyes. They hated him for causing such a big trouble for the family. Old Man Chen shook his head. "Get up, it's not your fault. I've thought it through. Whether you come back or not, whether you provoke them or not, it has nothing to do with what happened in the family today." How is it not related? If he didn't have to take liberties with Xiao Bei and threaten her, would they have entered the county to secretly investigate us? Chen Yaowei said unhappily when he saw his grandfather shift the blame to the first branch. "Shut up." Old Man Chen snorted and then said, "The last time Xiao Bei and the others came, they must have wanted to see the situation in the county. There is no school in the county at all. When they see it, the first thing they will ask is which family has the biggest business in the county. When they ask about our family, they will inevitably ask about the location of our family. When they see that our family lives in a big place and has a lot of money, but we haven't taken out the money to build the school, they will continue to investigate. Heavens, it's really the cycle of the heavens. Retribution is not good. It doesn't matter that we don't have the money to build the school. The important thing is that our hands are not clean. If we had known, we would have spent the money to build the school." When Xiao Bei and the others came, they wouldn't have investigated us. Chen Yaodong said regretfully. Old Man Chen laughed. "Ha ha, ha ha. Do you still remember the owner of the incense business, Fan Fan, 2 years ago in the west of the city? At that time, he came to our Chun family and said that he wanted to contact the other merchants in the county. With our Chun family leading the way, we would first build a school in the wasteland outside the city. Then we would each pay for the children in the county to study. In the end, no one agreed, and I also didn't agree. Why should we give the money to unrelated people? Then Fan Fan took out some money himself to build the school. We said that he was using this method to force us. In the end, he could only spend money to print books for the children to read. Last year, we should have known that we were wrong. At that time, our family lacked living money and wanted to go to the bank to borrow money. Usually, when the merchants who were much worse than us went to get a loan, the bank would give them money after the examination, and the interest was low. When it was our turn, no matter how much data we provided, no matter how much we asked to increase the interest, the Tang bank didn't give us a loan. Now you know why, right? The bank is a place to make money and shouldn't care about other things. However, the bank was built by Zhang Xiaobao, so the things it does have to comply with Zhang Xiaobao's requirements. The Tang Bank uses this method to reward merchants who have contributed to the children of the Tang Empire. Unless they have a lot of living money, they won't consider lending to merchants like us. Now I believe that good deeds will be rewarded with good deeds. Even if the heavens don't reward them, they will. Even for those who have contributed money to the school and then accidentally lost money. As long as they come up with a new way to make money, the bank will also provide them with money. Retribution. Human retribution is more direct and more vicious than heavenly retribution. These are the rules set by the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang families. As long as we don't have the ability to fight against them and escape from their control, we must do things according to their rules. If we don't agree, then this will be the result. After saying these words, the old master of the Qin clan fell silent and shrank back into his chair. His entire body was much shorter, and his eyes were closed as if he had fallen asleep. The other members of the Chun clan in the hall also couldn't say anything. It wasn't that they hadn't thought of spending some money to do good deeds, but their children spent a lot of money. For example, of Chun Yaozu's group of 600 people, some of them were bought servants, but most of them were hired. Going out to play normally required money. Eating delicious food and wearing comfortable clothes required money. Roping in officials required money. This money was for their own enjoyment. If they took it out and gave it to other people's children, what would they get in return? If there were no other problems, they wouldn't be afraid. At most, it would be troublesome to borrow money from the bank, and if they really couldn't, they could just borrow from other places. But now, there were other problems, and the school was a loophole that people had to investigate. Chapter 1205. Since the last time they came, Zhang Xiaobei's team of 9 reappeared. It was almost noon, and there were more people on the road at this time. It was just a show for others to see. If there were no onlookers, it would not look good. They saw a team with no end in sight coming from the other side of the road. They were famous for their bells and drums, and they played music. Then, the first flag appeared. It fluttered in the wind with a golden, flying dragon embroidered on it. There were 2 people under the flag, wearing the great General Jin Wu robes with arrows and sabers. There were also 2 people holding long spears. On the left and right, there was one great General Jin Wu, leading 48 riders. Then, there were 24 armored archers and sabers. Both men and horses were heavily armored. These were the Heavenly Patrol. The things in front of Li Longji were just for show. The great General Jin Wu were fake, and the ones behind were Xiaobei's. There were 36 people in front to clear the path. The 9 ballistae were the 9 ballistae that were covered by the ballistae. After that, there were 72 people in black, 72 chariots, 540 people with halberds, 54 red flags, 450 people with sabers, spears, bows, arrows, and lances. There were 30 message flags, 90 ceremonial knives, 108 ballistae, 18 vermilion lacquered round fans, and 9 ballistae. These were the ceremonial guards. After that, there were not many people. When they came out this time, they did not prepare to have a ceremonial guard. Most of them were temporary guards. Behind them were the chariots of Xiaobei's team of 9. They were all bright yellow, decorated with ivory decorations and pearls. There were also countless rice seedling flags stuck on the chariots and horses. They really did not have enough people to carry them. Next to the chariots were 100 short musketeers. Behind the chariots were 100 people with submachine guns. Behind them were 200 long musketeers. Behind the musketeers were 200 inner court musketeers. Behind the musketeers were 6 small cannons. Behind the small cannons were 300 people with long and short guns. In the sky, there were 13 eagles soaring. Xiaobei's team of 9 had not had such a grand ceremonial guard in a long time. To be precise, they had only done it twice, including this time. The inside of the chariot in front was actually filled with cement, and the wheels were squeaking from the pressure. However, others did not know that Xiaobei's team was short on manpower, so they were a little shabby. The people on the road were dumbfounded when they saw this group of people coming over. The group was too big. There were people on the wasteland, and the place where the alfalfa was planted was also trampled. When the passers-by saw this, they didn't think about the losses suffered by the people who planted the grass. Of course, they didn't know that Xiaobei and the others had to compensate them in the end. The procession was not moving fast. It was about the same as a normal person. It would take an hour for them to reach the place where they were now. This was enough time for someone to run to the county town and tell the others. After the procession had advanced for another 45 minutes, a large group of people appeared in front of them. All of them ran to the wasteland. There were both adults and children. They stood there, looking at the procession with curiosity and shock. There were people from the Chun family in the group, as well as County Magistrate Zhao Jianghao, Secretary Xiang Li, County Deputy Qin Yusui, and a group of county officials, warehouse managers, and bailiffs. After the commotion yesterday, they already knew who had come. thinking of the benefits they had received from the Chun family in secret, as well as the public welfare money that the Chun family had given out when they needed political achievements. They were all trembling in fear. Although they didn't directly help the Chun family embezzle other people's private property, they also didn't distort the truth when it came to cases involving the Chun family. However, they pretended not to see when the Chun family set traps and forced people to sell things at low prices. When the Chun family hit people, they helped to mediate, such as giving money, clarifying the severity of the situation, and so on. And now, Zhang Xiaobei, who had lived in the county town for a few days, was there a need to say anything else when the procession of 9 people was here? They definitely couldn't run away. It was said that the root of everything was the procession of honor that the eldest son of the Chun family's eldest son had made that day. In the end, he wanted to bully Xiaobei. Now, Xiaobei had also made that procession. Their purpose was very obvious. They wanted to show you what a procession was. Each of the 9 people had made a procession. Otherwise, how could there be so many flags? They finally saw the arrogance of a third-rank official. Perhaps it was the last time they would experience their power before they died. When Xiaobei and the others got closer and saw the dragon flag, the people who had come to watch the show knelt down one after another. When they saw the rice flag, the people who had knelt down stood up again. Their eyes lit up, and they looked excited as they began to move forward. The 2 different reactions of the people made the county magistrate, Zhang Hao, who was still kneeling on the ground, feel emotional. When they saw the dragon flag, they knelt down in awe, but when they saw the rice flag, they became friendly. They didn't care if they were facing the emperor's procession of honor. They directly stood up and moved to the side of the people. There were also people from the Chun family kneeling. They were all trembling, especially Chen Yaozu. His name wasn't given in vain. He had indeed shown off, but the consequences of showing off were not easy to bear. He was trembling the most now. The other party had come knocking on his door. There was no need to consider the problem of life and death. It would be good if he could die a quick death. The procession of honor stopped. Because of the Chun family incident the last time they came, the guard's vigilance was much stricter than in Wenshan County. The person holding the gun next to the carriage shook his head, indicating that the people should not come forward. Little brother, please make an exception. We want to see Xiaobei and Xiao Yuan. A person dressed like a squire walked up to the guard and pleaded from 5 paces away. The guard shook his head. No way. My family's young master and young lady came over a few days ago and were taken liberties with and bullied by that Shin family in your county. If they hadn't been quick to hide, they would have lost their lives. Shin family? Which Shin family? The squire asked with wide eyes. His voice was so loud that it drew the attention of nearly everyone. The guard didn't respond, but he was looking at the people kneeling in the wasteland. The people followed his gaze and looked over. At first, they were shocked, but then their faces filled with anger. It's actually Chen Mu and that old coot. Usually they strut around in the county. We'll just bear with it and won't lower ourselves to their level. I never thought they would bully Xiaobei and the others today. How dare they? Xiaobei is being bullied here. Folks, Xiaobei is being bullied. After one of the people looked back, he started to shout to the people around him. As he shouted, he rushed toward the people of the Chun family kneeling there. The others were stunned for a moment, but then they followed suit. Some of them grabbed a handful of stones from the ground or picked up a clump of dirt. Others untied the belts around their waists and stretched them, holding one end in each hand as they ran over. Tell them not to kill him. I want him alive. Xiaobei's voice came from one of the carriages. The guard immediately shouted a few times from behind, not knowing if anyone heard him. The people of the Chun family kneeling on the ground panicked when they saw the people rushing over. What were you doing? Chen Yaozu stood up from the ground, glaring angrily at the people who had always been afraid of him. But this time, he didn't need to show his power. The person in the front threw a fist straight at his face. Chen Yaozu reacted quickly, moving his head to the side and bending his waist to avoid the attack. He was then drowned in more punches and kicks. Oh, you dare hit me. Oh, don't hit me. Motherfucker, it hurts. Who's going to hit me? Oh, my legs, my head, my eyes. You don't know who I am. I surrender. If you hit me again, I'll die. Woo-ah. Chen Yaozu could no longer be seen through the gaps in the crowd. His voice gradually turned from loud curses to soft begging for mercy, and then disappeared. Dead? The people who were hitting him stopped when they saw that there was no more movement. He's not dead. Let's leave it like this first. Xiao Bei said that she didn't want to kill him. She wants to kill him personally, one cut at a time, the kind that will take half a month. A person went over to touch Chen Yaozu's neck and nose, then stood up and said to the people around him. Chen Yaozu wasn't the only one who fell. The others didn't escape either. The smarter ones covered their heads and let the people hit them for a while. Those who struggled were beaten even more. The people in the yamen also stood up and watched at the side. They couldn't stop them, and they didn't dare to stop them. They even faintly felt that it would be better if the people of the Chun family were beaten to death. That way, the benefits they received wouldn't be exposed. Today, not only did they see the ceremonial procession of a third-rank official, they also felt the prestige of Xiao Bei and the others among the commoners. The usually honest commoners had such a huge reaction when they heard that Xiao Bei was bullied. If it wasn't for them shouting at the back not to beat him to death, the Chun family would probably be dead by now. "Sir, what should we do?" The county deputy, Qin Yusui, looked at the beating for a while and started to worry about his own affairs. He turned his head and whispered to Zhao Jianghao, "I think we should do this. Let's, you sir, come here." Before Zhao Jianghao could finish his words, a few guards had already come to their side. Every two guards held onto one person's arm and walked to the side, not giving them a chance to talk and collude. Although there was no evidence to prove that the people in the yamen were not clean and had even broken the law, it could be estimated from the Chun family in the county that the people in the yamen were definitely not what they appear to be on the surface. The three people in charge of the county yamen were taken away to assist in the investigation. The rest of the people were still waiting in the same place, not knowing what to do. At this time, a servant girl came over and said to them, "My wife and young master said that they know everything you have done. Now, I will give you a chance. If you confess, you will be given a lighter sentence. If you resist, you will be executed on the spot. Yes, you will be charged with the crime of deceiving the emperor. It depends on your performance. In a while, someone will come over to question you one by one. Now, don't make a sound and don't look at each other." After the servant girl finished speaking, she left. Someone came over with a pen and paper to record. The people in the yamen lowered their heads and didn't look at others. Some even squatted down with their hands on their heads, waiting for others to come and ask them. At this moment, the mainstream of their thoughts was who to betray and who to betray. The team's doctor also came over and checked on the people of the Chun family who had been beaten. Other than a few who had fainted and perhaps had a slight concussion, the others were in good condition. Of course, there was no way to check if they had a concussion. The medical conditions were not good enough to detect it. The doctor not only had to check on the people who had been beaten, but also the people who had beaten them. Usually, the honest people would not be beaten, but there were people who had injured themselves. When their fists hit other people's heads would hurt, and their fists would hurt as well. Some even injured their tendons. There were also a few who sprained their ankles when they hit others, and some were accidentally injured by their own people. Everyone was grinning, waiting for the doctor to come over and check on them. "Who knocked my teeth out? Little fatty, was it you?" An 8 or 9-year-old boy covered his mouth. Blood flowed down the gaps between his fingers. "It wasn't me. How would I have the strength to knock your teeth out?" The person who was called Little Fatty shook his head and denied. "You pushed me, and my mouth hit his head." The child who had lost his teeth wasn't stupid. Little Fatty took a step back and said, "Don't blame it on me. Your teeth were loose the day before yesterday, and you need to change them. When you change your teeth, it's even more uncomfortable. You have to think about it every day. Even so, I don't need you to help me hit them. What do you think we should do? I'll treat you to some crispy knuckles. I don't have much noodles at home. I'll roast them for you. My teeth are gone. How can I eat them?" Similar words spread among many people. Everyone seemed to be complaining, but in fact, they were in a good mood after venting. After beating the people who usually bullied them but did not dare to hit them, This was a good feeling. Xiao Bei and the others also got out of the car at this time and walked over to Chen Yaozu, who had been beaten. A basin of water was splashed on him. When he woke up in a daze, Xiao Bei smiled. Then he said to him in a very ruffian and gangster-like manner, "What did you say when you invited me to the county the other day? Today, I'm here. I missed you so much. Let's find a place to have a good chat." You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.